Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
It's Monday! Happy Monday, everybody. Happy start of a new week. Home opener tomorrow. Woke up this morning, the entire yard was covered with snow.
Was it really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Chagrin Falls, baby.
That's crazy.
East
Wow,
side.
yeah.
So that means opening day must be near. It's unbelievable. Now, I got in town, when I got downtown today, I noticed that I don't even know if they got a flake down here.
No.
But
there was not a flake. Not a flake.
In fact, when I left, there was still a little dusting
Really?
on the front yard. Yeah, it hadn't melted off yet.
We had nothing. Cold, but nothing.
Yeah, 36 degrees. This is baseball season opening time.
Yeah.
Season opening season.
They can never. Last year was great. Last year, I mean, we had the eclipse. The weather
Beautiful
was
day.
perfect.
Yeah,
it was
you couldn't ask
perfect.
for more.
Usually, though, it doesn't matter. If they open on April 9th, then March 30th, it's 65 and sunny. If they open on March 30th, then it's a blizzard, and April 9th, they can never get it right.
They cannot seem to fix it. Speaking of Guardians, we're going to dive into what the heck's wrong with them. They look nothing like the team we saw last year. Not even, they don't resemble it. The starting pitching is horrible. The bullpen is atrocious. And where are the bats? There's no offense. I'm starting to think, I know it's early, you don't want to make snap judgments for the whole season. I feel confident saying this team is not as good as it was last year. And I also feel like last year there was something magical.
Yeah.
We talked about that all year. I think the magic, when you take a 5-month break, magic evaporates. And the magic is not in the room anymore. Not to say they're not going to turn it around. I think the division's winnable with 88 games, 88 wins. Right now, I don't know how they get there. So we'll talk about that. Cavs limping, leaking oil coming into the end of the regular season. What are they, Mikey, in their last 15 games?
If you give me 1 sec, I could tell you. But
To me, they feel like a team that's just slightly over 500 with a lot of bad losses.
they're 6-4 in their last 10.
Okay, not impressive.
In their last 15, yeah, they had that 4-game losing streak in there. So you are right, Jay. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
9 and
They're
6.
8-7 in their last 15. So
Pretty ordinary. I know a lot of people rolling their eyes going, it doesn't matter, it's March.
It doesn't matter. It's March.
They don't look like the team that
all that
started
matters
the
is
season at
Donovan
all,
being
to me.
healthy, and we're going to talk about
Yeah.
how to manage
Yeah.
that, because that was a terrifying moment in the game last night. I wasn't there, but I start getting texts and seeing these tweets, and it's Donovan's down writhing in pain, and I'm like, no, Bull's right. Oh my! And I hate when Bull's right.
No, Bull wasn't right.
But Bull's never right, and once again was proven to be wrong.
Bull wasn't
after
right.
Donovan returned 3 minutes later.
And even if someone does get hurt, it doesn't make you right. Bull often says you can't live in your fears. You got to play these guys. Can't have it both ways.
Yeah. You can't just wrap them up for the last 10 games, 5 games. Those were last night.
Yeah. And then expect them to be top
you
shelf.
You got to play.
Yeah.
There's a balance. We'll talk about it.
We'll dive into that. We're also going to do a lot of NFL draft stuff today. We'll react to the Colorado Pro Day, the good and the bad of Shadeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and some of the smoke coming out of the Colorado Pro Day in terms of Cleveland and Travis. The Browns are also hosting a defensive tackle today that G. Bush may rip his hair out if they end up drafting at number 2. And will Jalen Milroe be there at 33? We got a lot to get to. Before we do that, I told you guys on Friday that we had our Men's League semifinal game coming up this weekend. Line was we were favored by 3.5. Easy cover.
Who sets that line, by the way?
I did.
I
did.
I'm sure Vegas does it.
We covered easy.
Oh, good.
We won. Headed to the championship game. It's a rematch of last year's championship game. I was not on the team last year, but the team that they played in the championship last year beat them by 3. I think the final score was a very highly
Mikey
contested.
the X Factor?
We split against this team this season. We won 1 game. We lost 1 game. Both were close. And next Sunday,
where are these teams
championship.
from? Like, how far are you pulling from on this?
Like on my guys.
Just in
All of them,
general.
like,
in the
It's the
league.
Cleveland Heights men's league, so everyone.
So they're all from the
It's all
Metro
local.
Cleveland.
It's all
Yeah.
local.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah, relatively local at least.
Okay.
All right.
So next week championship, you're gonna
Good.
hear a lot of Boomers hype over the next 5 days as we get prepared and ready to win a championship. And it made me think.
Are we going to live stream this championship game?
Probably not, but made me
we
think
should.
real quick before we dive into it because we have a lot
Oh,
of
he
stuff
needs
to
a
get
phone.
to. In all honesty, Jay, I know your answer because the trophy's right behind you. The
Yeah.
last time you actually won a championship.
Yeah.
I was there, filmed
Mm-hmm.
it. G. Bush and Jason, when's the last time you guys have won a
That wasn't the
championship?
last time we won a championship.
Have you won one again?
We
since
won
then?
the World Series, the National World Series, after we won that
Okay,
one.
so that isn't
And
your
then
most
we
recent.
won last year as well. So that was the first of 3 in the last 18 months.
You're disqualified from this conversation
All right,
because
that's fair.
you have won a championship
Okay.
recently. G and Jason, when's the last time you have won a championship
Oh, this
with
is-
any legitimacy?
This is very easy, man. Listen, so I was invited when NCAA Football 225 came out. I was invited into a dynasty of over 20 teams. I was also invited in another dynasty with about 10 guys in the league.
Wait, do video games count?
Come on, they get paid money. That's esports.
I mean, I thought we were talking about like physical athletic achievement.
Yeah,
We can't count a free men's league and not count a
Esports is
game,
it.
yeah.
Well,
But
there's running, jumping, and athletic endeavor involved in Mikey's.
it is.
I would even
We did have
accept
to
a
pay
golf league championship.
My guys was running and jumping digitally all over to everybody
That
else.
game
well,
cost
you were working
$70.
your
I'm on
thumbs
G-side.
now.
Hey, listen.
I don't know if that's athleticism, but
I was moving.
it's dexterity.
Hey, I won. This is where I don't know if they retired me or I retired them. So basically, I got too good. I won 11 championships in a row at SMU.
Wow.
I was demoted out of the dynasty. They didn't like my style of play.
No, they didn't like losing every time.
Yes,
It's like the Bush push.
Yes,
They eliminated it.
They said I ran jet
God.
sweeps. They said I ran jet sweeps. That I ran the football too much, and that I had a defense. I had a defense that nobody could block. So I said, "What do you guys want me to do? I mean, I could just recruit and let the computer play you, and they still lost."
Yeah.
So they basically said, "Yeah,
All right, G, that counts.
yeah, counts, right?" There you
Jason,
go.
when's the last championship
Well,
that
I
you've won?
coached 4 teams to championship games.
That counts.
Lost all 4 of them. I'm Marv Levy.
No, it doesn't.
Mark Levy.
I got to all 4.
That's crazy.
Legendary Avon Lake rec baseball status. Took 4 straight teams to championships in different leagues.
Wow.
And we lost every year. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. Last championship
tough.
I won was probably as a kid. I mean, we won championships
Yeah.
as a kid.
I have a lot of runners up. Those hurt. Though you remember those more than the championship.
I think my last championship was the Jim Calhoun Elite Invite Camp when I was 14 years old, going to my sophomore year of high school. It's been my championship drought could have a Sweet 16 birthday party.
Did
this
you
year.
go to UK or did you go to UConn for that? Is
Yeah,
that
it
what
was
that
up
was?
on About Stores campus. They won the championship yesterday, so shout out to the women's team.
Yeah.
We
What
won
a job.
We won
man.
a Bowling Green shootout. Shout out to Coach Dockage. We used to go down there
Oh,
for
yeah,
basketball, and we won that 2 or 3 times.
Well, you won a state championship
Yeah,
and a national championship.
Yeah, I
in
don't like to
football.
count those.
Oh, to me, those are your real championships.
Yeah, those are definitely real.
If you're going to
Absolutely.
count video games,
No,
let's not forget football.
I like
real
to,
football.
I like to leave those. I like to leave. I'm trying to. That was 30
Man.
years ago.
I don't
did
care.
Win, I did win
You buried the lead.
a intramural basketball national championship at OU.
That
Wow.
counts. Yeah, that absolutely counts.
We beat Indiana.
I think we won a softball league at Kent. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, man.
Intramural type
And
stuff.
I got, we
Mikey,
got
there's
hammered
no.
afterwards.
The second you guys win, and I don't know if you'll cut down the net. It's a men's league. Maybe you will. Maybe you
Probably
won't.
not.
But the second you win, it will all come flooding back to you. Why it feels so good to win a championship.
My whole point of bringing this up was I was telling Gabby yesterday. Like, I'm not drinking this week. Like, I'm
Yeah, you're
locked in.
taking it seriously.
I'm eating good the whole, like, I am way more invested in
Yep.
this game on Sunday
Yep.
than I should be. I am not ashamed to admit that I am 100% committed to doing whatever it
Hey.
takes to bring a Boomers
No,
a
I get it.
championship.
I get it.
I mentioned on Friday, the last year that I was coaching AJ, he was 12. He sprained his ankle in the semifinal, hit a home run and sprained his ankle. And I was like, we're going to shoot him up with Toradol. He's playing. And I wasn't kidding. I was going to shoot
Yes.
my child up with Toradol.
For a Little League game.
To make sure that he
Now,
could
did he
play.
play?
Oh, yeah, he played. Yeah. And he didn't need the Toradol.
Okay,
And
good.
one of the other parents was a physical therapist. We took him in for therapy and wrapped. He
That's
was fine.
awesome.
And we got our heads beat in. It wouldn't have mattered
we
anyway.
played-
But I was going to shoot my
in
child.
the
It
moment,
works.
you lose track of the fact that I remember I was playing for a championship in Florida. So this would have been, I was probably 28 or 29. And our team, before the championship series, we're going to play all 3 games over a weekend, doubleheader Saturday, 1 on Sunday. We hit every single day for the whole week. Hour and a half cage session. I mean, just working out physically, lifting, hitting. I was doing bullpens on the side so I could stay sharp and fresh. And I remember before the game started, our catcher, who had played minor league baseball for a long time, looked around and he goes, guys, I want to say one last thing before we go out there. There are no scouts in those trees. There are no scouts in those stands. No one's getting a deal.
Yeah.
Go out and play like you're 12.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing to say because you want to just relax and just let it happen.
Yeah.
Good luck, Mikey. I hope you win it.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a little more preview. We may get one of the guys on later in the week to do a little preview.
Let's. And if you win, I think you have to get the trophy.
We're getting the team in here on Monday if we win. Absolutely.
That's great.
It'll be we'll get to that. We got a lot of stuff to do before we win.
That's fantastic.
Let's dive into the show, guys. Our first topic of the day is brought to us by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs and the NBA playoffs, are almost here. And FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if their first bet wins. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. We have a winning ticket from our guy, Darren Smith. Darren texted me last night. He said, I got a light win for you. It's just a 9-leg parlay. Turned $10 into $135 on a 9-part same-game parlay in a Jazz game against the Hawks earlier this week. So shout out to Darren Smith. If you have a winning ticket,
Darren bets a day?
Enough.
He's into it, man. Yeah.
But he wins a good chunk. So shout out to Darren. And if you have a winning ticket, send it in so we can feature it here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
I always tell guys that do bet when they tell me about their tickets, I go, don't really care about your winning tickets. I just hope, and I don't need to answer, but I hope you win more than you lose. Because so few do.
I mean, ain't that what it's set up to be?
Well, go to Vegas.
Yeah.
They don't build those casinos out of marble for nothing.
Yeah, they ain't.
They get a lot of money from us.
Yeah.
The suckers.
The one assist Darius Darling didn't get. The one rebound Evan Mobley somehow didn't pull down cost you $3,500. You're like, man, it's only $20 though, Jason. So you see that ledger.
Those $20 add up.
Ledger hit you.
Yeah. That's why I ask. I wonder how many. Like, if he just did a 9-leg on that game, does he do a 9-leg on every single NBA game?
I don't know, but you can bet now on where Shadeur Sanders is going to get drafted, and that's where we are starting today's Ultimate Cleveland
Those
Sports
odds
Show.
have plummeted, by the way.
They have, he's now the over/under on where Shadeur will get drafted. Draft position is 8.5.
I saw 10 somewhere.
Maybe it's the different draft books and
it probably is, but I saw
ones.
that Saturday that he was 10.
But after his pro day, there were a lot of mixed reviews coming out of Colorado. Some experts said it was impressive. Ian Rappaport went on and said he dismissed a lot of the concerns scouts would have with his arm strength. Todd McShay came on and said...
How did he dismiss those concerns, by the way?
Because Ian says what he's told to say.
Yeah, I mean, his agent,
he's a robot who's
Shadeur's
programmed.
agent likely gave Ian a nugget.
And that's more Ian than Shadeur. Like, Ian just says whatever he's told to say, period.
Right, yeah.
So you can't pay any attention.
I automatically
Todd
dismiss
McShay,
that
who
kind
was
of
there,
stuff.
said he thought it left a lot to be desired. It didn't do anything to close the gap or stop the momentum of Jackson Dart supplanting Shadeur as potentially the second quarterback taken in this draft. There was the whole pat the ball dilemma and back and forth that got NFL players like Darius Slayton and Micah Parsons arguing whether or not that's a telltale sign to help the offense or the defense. I want to ask this question. We can parse out any part of the pro day you want in the context of this question. But what is it about Shadeur Sanders that makes him such a hard quarterback evaluation?
Because what makes it such a hard quarterback evaluation is it's not about just his evaluation. Like, there are people who, if he was just, that's why they say if he was just a regular guy, would he be where he's at? And when you ask that question, you've already said, like, okay, well, he's different because of what? His father is Deion Sanders. There's a lot of people who would look at him and they compare his athleticism to Deion Sanders, which is crazy because he's a quarterback and Deion is the best. Nobody is the athlete Deion Sanders is. None. You look at it, people, you throw names around. Tom Brady really likes him a lot. So you got these huge names, not to mention Colorado was a lightning rod when it comes to the first people to have NIL. They were a lightning rod in terms of the way Deion went out and really went after guys in the transfer portal. He really embraced it. You got these two guys who got a lot of hype, both of them, Travis Hunter, as well as Shadeur Sanders. And so when you get all of that involved, you're going to have some people that say, he's pretty good, and some people are going to say, I don't like that. For the hype that they get, for all of the stuff that they get, he's not that good. So, you're going to have some people that want to build him up, and you're going to have some people that are going to take some of this stuff away from him. And that's just the way the game goes. Now, for me, I look at it in terms of this. I look at people always talk about the concepts of is it just this draft class? And I just put a video out over the weekend on the barbershop, and it talked about how Shedeur is covered and how other people are covered. Now, if I go back and I not look at last year, I go back to the 2022 draft, right? And people talk about Todd McShay, right? Todd McShay in 2022 had 5 first-round quarterbacks going. He said 3 were locks. Now, if you don't know what the 2022 draft was, go back and look at it. It was known as one of the worst draft classes ex-quarterback as it's ever been. He had Kenny Pickett going first round. He had Malik Willis going first round. He had Matt Corral going first round. He had Desmond Ridder going first round. And he had Sam Howell with a first round grade. So for people like myself, I'm looking at the tape and I said, so hold on, you had all of these, 3 of them dudes is working at the Walmart right now. I said, you had a first round grade on all of them? Shadeur Sanders has to have a first round grade. I don't know what they're looking at. Zach Wilson had a first overall grade. My thing is this. I think there's a lot of things that muddy the waters because he is who he is. I think a lot of people really still don't like the fact that there was word that Prime was not going to let his son play certain places. And I'm just going to be honest with you. People don't like that. People don't want you to be out here talking about where you're not going to go. They want you to respect the process, especially if they're a part of the process that they get paid on, and that's their role, that's their wheelhouse. I think sometimes when people have like him with the name, they go there looking for a reason to validate either or whatever they want to hear. Some people will say he was throwing moon balls. Some people say he had good touch on the deep ball. Some people say I wanted him to throw the ball intermediately over the field, see his arm strength. Some people said I like the fact that he worked the process and got warm, throwing short routes to get open. My thing is this. I've always stood on business when it comes to this. He's played for 4 years. The tape is there. There's no way Jackson Dart is better than him. It just is what it is. He's never been a better prospect than him. He's not better than him. He played on a better team. So when you say Jackson Dart is catching somebody, how? When? Doing what?
Where did Jackson start? I don't even know. Did he start his career there? Or did he
At USC.
SC.
He was like a 5-star.
So he was a better prospect.
Yeah,
than
he was a
Shedeur
better
Sanders.
prospect.
But he ain't never played better than him.
No, but you said he was never a better prospect. He was absolutely a better
What
prospect.
I'm saying is he's never been a better player than Shedeur Sanders.
Well, I think that's where this argument gets so confusing, is because there were a lot of times, and this happens every draft. To answer the question, it's the position and it's his name.
I mean, when was Josh Allen ever better than Baker Mayfield?
Well, I was just going to go there. I
Yeah.
was absolutely going to go to the Josh Allen Baker Mayfield draft. Now, if you go back and you read the experts' clips, and I did this on Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen, it reads like a comedy now.
What you mean? I had that on the barbershop too.
Well,
On PFF, they said
but
Josh Allen Josh Allen's ceiling was a poor man's Baker Mayfield.
Yes. Now, the reason I bring that up is because, so the answer to this question, why is it so hard? Number one, the position. It's the hardest position in sports to play. There are more variables that come into play to make a great one. And it's the most important position in sports. It's the most studied position. So as a result, it makes it difficult because there's so many variables. If you're very fast and you have great hands and you run great routes, you will be a great receiver. I can tell you that if you have great processing and large hands and a strong arm, you're not going to be a great quarterback. There's 12 other things you need, 20 other things, 100 other things. And the reason I say go back and pick the year, I don't care what year it is. You chose 22, I'll give you Baker Mayfield's, I'll give you any year. Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning, one of the great all-time examples. The community was 50-50 split. They literally did not know who was going to have the better career. One of them infamously imploded. The other one went on to become one of the all-time greats ever to play the position. But those that judged that position were split. There was no consensus. This year, I honestly think that, and to McShay said, I'm not making an excuse for Todd because he's a friend and a co-worker one time. You've got to give 5 quarterbacks first-round grades. You're not giving them grades based on other quarterbacks. Other players. Because every year there's going to be 4 to 6 quarterbacks drafted. So you pretty much have to assign 5 of them first-round grades, and it's likely the 5 highest-rated quarterbacks that he had. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think we're getting to 5 this year. I don't think we're getting to 4 this year.
I still think we're going to get more than people think. I do think we'll get to 4.
We might.
I think we'll get to 4. And so that also weighs into the position. Why? It's the most overreached position because it's the most important.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And so what happens when you overreach? You miss a lot. If this were last year's draft, it's all timing. The league hasn't changed. The league that these guys are coming into is the exact same league that last year's class came into. Mm-hmm. So if you start filing this year's quarterbacks in with last year, they're obviously not first rounders. None of them. Maybe there might be one that slides in.
I don't agree with that.
Well, where are you going to put? Everybody has Sanders and Ward with lower grades than all of the quarterbacks that went last year.
I don't agree with that.
You don't have to agree with it.
Well, I'm just saying, I look at the tape and I say, okay, J.J. McCarthy threw the ball 12 times a game. J.J. McCarthy threw the ball 12 times a game.
I don't understand him.
They played her. I don't get it.
I don't either.
And they just said J.J. is it. Now listen, Bo Nix played a lot of football. Bo Nix is 36 right now. Y'all didn't know. No, but hey, listen, he played a lot of football until he got to a point where he had a tremendous last year. But if I'm looking at,
so did Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
If I'm looking at Bo Nix and I'm looking at Shadeur Sanders, I don't see no room between them. They're the same person.
The grades that I'm seeing are vastly different.
To me, they're the same person. Like, to me, I look at it like this. It all depends. A lot of it has to do with where you go. It's who takes you.
And isn't it also when you're drafted?
Listen, it's where you go. It's the system you go to.
If these guys were coming out last year...
The Bo Nix did very well because he had an offensive-minded coach, knew he wanted him, knew what his strengths were, played to those strengths, and put him in a really great position. If Bo Nix goes to the Indianapolis Colts...
Or the Cleveland Browns.
Or the Browns... listen, he's not going to have the same season.
Yeah, I'll give you that's very important.
And think about it. People swing and miss. Like, would I rather take Anthony Richardson high or Shadeur Sanders?
I wouldn't take either one of them. It's just me.
But that's where we are. When you need a quarterback, and when you have to have one,
you're desperate.
You have to take him. You have to. I
disagree with that. What if it's the wrong player?
But what if you wait forever for the right player?
Yeah, but the right player's not there now. So maximize the pick you have now with someone that you know is a fit for what you do.
So here's the thing. So next year, if you extrapolate this out, and you say, okay, well, next year I'll look for it. I'll ask people, all the same people, the same questions. Say, for instance, you guys take Abdul Carter, right?
Yeah.
Say we take Abdul Carter at 2, and we get a retread quarterback, whatever, Kirk Cousins, whoever you want. Browns win 5 games, right? Next year, the top prospects on your list are defensive ends or defensive tackles,
right,
or something else. Do you keep the same energy?
Well,
will you then say, all right, well, I got to take the best player. I took Abdul Carter.
There's a valuable element missing from your scenario.
Okay.
The element missing is what's at quarterback.
They still don't have any. Well, so say for instance, they are not in a position. Say they're not drafting 2. Say they're drafting 8, 9.
Oh no, I'm not talking about what's at quarterback for the Browns. I'm talking about what's at quarterback in the draft.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you're drafting at 8 or 9. And the best guys left on the board when you're drafting happen to be defensive tackles or non-quarterback positions.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Okay, it's the same thing you do this year. You analyze all of the information, not just the position that you need, but also the pool of players that are available at that position.
Top 3 quarterbacks go in the first 5 picks.
So you trade up.
Yeah, you move up.
You trade your future capitals like they did for Deshaun, and you move up.
I agree with that.
So, okay. But
teams do it every year.
Well, here's the thing. It didn't happen. It don't happen with Peyton Manning. It didn't happen with Andrew Luck.
What didn't happen? What do you mean?
When teams have that type of player, when the consensus.
Yes, the number one guy. Yes, if a team needs a quarterback and there's a number one guy that clearly said they're not trading him.
No, yeah.
But there's other guys.
So okay, you get to so we're back to the RG3 conversation. There's 2 quarterbacks. They traded how many picks for RG3? 3, 4 first round picks?
Honestly, I don't even remember.
It was 3 first round picks for RG3. My thing is, all I'm saying in this long roundabout way is there is no right way or perfect time to take a quarterback.
I'll agree with that.
It comes down to the team's evaluation of the guy. That's it.
Yeah.
If you don't
Do they like him?
That's why I don't understand the idea that they can trade back up and get Shedeur, because I'm like, well, guys, then they would just take him at 2. If they like him that much, they'll just take him at 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me
you take the element
to trade
of risk
back
out.
up to trade back up to 13 or whatever magic number it is to go up and get Shedeur. I'm like, well, then just take him at 2 or whoever it is.
Yeah.
If you like him enough to trade up and get him at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15,
well,
you like him enough to take him at 2.
There is one other element there, though. The element is, if you could present a team a scenario where they can get Hunter and Sanders.
But that's a fantasy because there's too much risk involved in another team jumping you to go get the quarterback.
Here's what I say to that.
We just said the quarterback's the most important
hope's
position.
not a plan.
If you like him enough to take him, to trade back up and take him, then take him at 2. And I don't think that they do. I just don't think when you talk about why is it so hard to evaluate Shedeur, to me it's because where is the elite trait that he has? I don't think that he has an elite. But guess what? Tom Brady didn't have elite traits either. And he turned out to be. So you can't just go off of that. But that's why I think it's so hard to evaluate him. His arm strength is an elite. His size is an elite. His speed is an elite. So what
his pedigree is elite.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I keep going back to is he's tough as nails. He's not going to be rattled by the moment. He's accurate. But what of his physical traits can you hang your head on and say, like Josh Allen had monster size and a great arm, and teams were still passing on him because he wasn't accurate. So, yeah, it's really hard to evaluate these guys, but I just don't know that there's anything when you watch him that you say he's better at this than 99% of the league or 90, whatever number you want to put on that.
He's not that guy.
And that's why you get so much disagreement. Other teams, some teams may look at him and say, we love this, this, and this about him. We love the fact that he's tough. We love the fact that he doesn't throw interceptions. We love the fact that he can't be rattled in the moment because look where he's coming from. He's already seen and heard everything.
Right.
We'll work on the rest. Other teams will look at that and say, nope, there's plenty of stuff out there that I heard at the owners' meetings. I already told Mike, I'm not saying it on the show because I'm not going to be the guy that craps all over
you know
this
what?
kid.
Thank you for not repeating that because a lot of it's garbage.
But there's a lot out there on, and a lot of it's probably true. But teams will look at that and say, we don't want that in our building. And other teams will look at it and say, we don't care about that. We can win with them.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to personal preference.
I reached out to Bernie because Bernie was a notorious ball tapper.
Yeah.
So,
that was wild.
I did not play.
Dang, bro.
Jesus.
You owe Bernie an apology.
Bernie, I am sorry.
You got to call that man later like, yo.
I wanted Bernie's thoughts on this because I saw that it became this big flashpoint over the weekend. And to me, I think it's a joke. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go right to a guy that I know tapped the ball throughout his career, and it was never coached out of him. I wanted his thoughts. And this is what he said in typical Bernie fashion. I tapped it as a timing mechanism. Plus, I would/could, and this is so Bernie, change up the padding, which then threw the defensive backs and linebackers off who were guessing on his tap sequence.
Man, boy.
That's Bernie.
Yeah.
Bernie was playing expert level chess when everybody else on the field was playing checkers. And trust me, I don't know where Bernie's football acumen and kind of like Rain Man-esque, Eric Mangini, who to me was the most impressive breaker down of film I'd ever seen, I told him, I've never seen anyone do it like you. This is next level. And he said, you know who does it better than me? And I said, who? And he said, Bernie Kosar.
Wow.
And that's high praise. But Bernie said he would do it to throw off the DBs and the linebackers who were guessing on my one pat or two pats. I really like Shedeur, not as much as Cam, whom I love.
Yeah.
So I put this out there too. Like when they was doing the Pat Gate thing, like I just put a simple thing out from a quarterback coach, and he's like, listen, that's the timing. There's no wrong or right way to do it. Like that, he showed you tape of Aaron Rodgers doing it. He showed you a tape of Tom Brady patting the football. Like he said, when usually quarterbacks are doing that with a timing and rhythm piece, and I can see quarterbacks doing that when they're very comfortable in the pocket. So some quarterbacks just go straight; they don't pat the ball; they go get right to the receivers. Some of them don't. My thing is, when you get to that level, that's what I call the Shedeur level. That like when you're that big of a prospect. That's when they really gonna get that microscope out. There's a lot, and it's a lot of DBs out here that's capped. Y'all don't be picking off regular passes. These dudes out here with no interceptions, lifetime talking about we gonna jump that. You're not jumping that.
Well, here's the interesting thing, and I'd love to have a conversation. You'd never find the truth until after the draft. And I wish Bernie was here because I have a million more questions for Bernie. I actually sent him a follow-up text that he hasn't seen yet. But in my follow-up text, I said this: would you take him at 2? Can you coach the tap out of him? The reason I ask that is you don't think his dad knows what's going on with the tap?
Yeah.
I'm sure Deion Sanders would salivate at quarterbacks that did the extra tap. So my thing is, has Deion known about this and tried to coach this out of his game? Because you know this, you're working on hitting with your son right now. You can send a guy to a hitting coach for 5 years. He will still have automatic muscle memory things that he falls back into.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't wash them out. You can. But you're essentially reprogramming DNA. And so I don't know if Deion's tried to coach the tap out or if Deion has said, look, I played against Bernie Kosar. I could never intercept Bernie Kosar, and he tapped the ball. I couldn't get a rhythm of how many times he was going to tap it. Was he going always once? Was it sometimes twice? What was going on? So if he still has it, it tells me 2 things. Deion's not concerned about it, or Deion tried to coach it out of him, and it couldn't be coached out of him. I'd like to know which one was most
I just
true.
look at it like bad footwork. Are there quarterbacks who have bad footwork and still succeed?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, look at Bernie.
And are there some quarterbacks who are ruined by the fact that they can't get their feet set and that therefore it affects their accuracy?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's all personal to that guy. And I mean, when NFL players are telling you that's a problem, I tend to put a little bit more credence in it. But if he can get away with it, I'm sure there's plenty of guys in the NFL who tap the ball and do just fine.
When I went back and listened to it, I went back and looked at it, and one of the things that I kept going back to was this premise that we know when we see a top prospect.
No.
We know. We just know it's a
No
consensus.
one knows.
I went back and I was on the internet. And if y'all haven't checked it out, you can go watch the barbershop. I went back and I looked at Jaden Daniels. Now, right now, he's the darling of the league. Right now, they say he's one of the best rookies we'd have never seen. And I pulled multiple clips up of people saying, this guy is the most polarizing player that they have ever seen at that high in the draft. Some people have him top 5. Some people have him some people got him second round pick. Some people got him at 19. I got guys that do this for a living saying this, right? I pull it up clips of people saying, you know what? Jaden Daniels can throw the ball. I know he got a rocket arm. I saw him run for 11 times for 165 yards, but I just don't want him. I can't do it. I just don't want him. And I'm like, this is the consensus guy. This is the darling right now. So what I'm saying is, it depends on your organization. It is up to your organization to take these guys, mold them, shape them, give them tools, and make them better as quarterbacks and as people. And sometimes we get to a point where I don't know whether we get lazy, man. Bill Walsh wasn't getting finished products. He wasn't getting finished. He was working with guys.
Well,
You got to work with
Young
some of
were
these.
pretty good when he got them.
I mean, but the truly great guys at the top of the food chain, you got to have a great coach, a great play caller, and the quarterback.
And a system.
And the system.
A great system.
And when you put it around them, that's when they become the Mahomes that we know and we can't beat.
Right.
That's what we need to get to. So, and like, it's all like Jason said. Listen, if they pass on Shadeur Sanders, that's their prerogative. I'm not his agent. If they pass on him, they think somebody else is better to take. Hey, fine. But here's the thing: you take who you think you can win with, and then after you do that, you got to stand on it.
Yep.
Now it's time to perform.
Right.
Whoever they want. I told you, if they want to come out here with Will Howard or Curtis Rourke or whoever, Gabriel Dillon, I may not like it, But guess what? That's who you felt you can win with. Now stand on it and let's see what they got.
And what's interesting about that, G, because I agree with that, what's really interesting about that is you also say where they go. This regime is back against it.
Yep.
Now, I know Jimmy tried to create a little bit of wiggle room when he said, hey, that was my swing and miss. It's all on me and D. Okay, that's cool, but the fans aren't going to remember that. If they draft Travis Hunter and they have another wipeout at wide receiver, bye-bye, Andrew. I don't care what happens elsewhere.
If they pass on Shedeur and Shedeur goes 8 or 9 and he balls out, that's a fireable offense.
Well, see, I think that's less a fireable offense.
No, I think it's a
and
fireable
here's
offense.
why. We've been talking about how important it is where you go. What is this? What is the history of this organization when it comes to quarterbacks? Doesn't matter who they take. They all flame out.
But don't that mean
that is the petri dish you're swimming in?
Don't that mean that you ain't got the right guy? If you
Yes.
can't, if you don't have the right guy, running your organization, and you see other quarterbacks go here, because listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now: if the Browns don't take him, do not be surprised if the Giants don't run their tails right up there and say, "I'm taking Shadeur Sanders."
All the reports out of New York are the Giants are going to take whoever the Browns don't take at Carter Hunter.
Hey, listen, guess what? And they still got. So here's another thing: Giants, you don't got a quarterback. You got Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. You gonna get another defensive end?
No. Load them up.
There it is.
I think they're going to also.
All right.
When the Giants won their Super Bowl, what was the strength of their team?
Hey,
defensive line.
But guess who they had though?
They had a couple. They had OC. I'm going back too.
Matthias Kiwanuka.
Hey,
listen, you
playoff.
collect those things.
2007 Giants. I'll have a day.
Playoff Eli Manning was elite.
He was.
Like there's no. He was a different animal.
He was, but their defensive line was incredible.
They were. I give it to him.
The goat slayer.
That man in the playoffs was
Eli
elite.
Manning in the playoffs.
Hey, listen, but Brian Dable, don't you? Hey, listen. Don't come out here with Russ. I know you got Russ and Gimenez. Don't come out here and get you a defensive end. They're like, what the heck? We scored 5-6 points a game. You'll be gone too, buddy. Them Giants, the Mariners don't be playing around. This ain't Cleveland. They will get rid of you in New York, bro. Do the right thing, bro.
Well, gee, the Giants pick is highly dependent on what the Browns do at number 2. And some reports out of Colorado following the workout are making it seem like there's a pretty likely, at least at this point, pick for the Browns. We'll tell you what that likely pick is after a quick word from our new sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. But now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy, all so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. So Shadeur Sanders was the highlight of the Colorado Pro Day, but Travis Hunter did end up running some routes. He did end up participating. And following the limited workouts he did, Jeff Howe of The Athletic, who's been on this show before, has put out there that there is growing belief that Travis Hunter is now the favorite to be the Browns selection at number 2. This according to high-ranking executives and officials. Andrew Berry reportedly was watching every one of Travis's moves, warm-ups, stretching, how he was interacting with the scouts. Berry was, according to reports, I don't want to say stalking Travis Hunter, but basically stalking Travis Hunter at the Pro Day. Jason, you came back from the owners'
meeting saying... I love how these narratives form. I love it.
Yep.
Jason came back from the owners' meetings telling us that he thought Travis Hunter was trending to be the pick. Following the Pro Day, Jason, do you feel even more confident that is where the Browns will go with their number 2 selection?
I don't have any reason to feel differently. I don't know that I feel more confident, but I haven't seen or been told anything to think otherwise. So, yeah, at this point, like I don't know. We're probably getting close. I said last week, guys, the Browns don't even know who they're taking, so how can anyone else know? And that's why you get some of this muddled and some of these conflicting reports. But you're getting close now. Like, this was the last big one, I think, the Colorado Pro Day. and now you can sit down and huddle together. You know the direction Tennessee's going. Tennessee canceled its visit with Shedeur. It's pretty locked up at this point. It's going to be Cam Ward. So you have the rest of the field to pick from. So there's really no need. I mean, they can still hide, and they can still spin, and they can still deceive. But at this point, there's really no need to. If Travis is your guy, and by all indications, I think it is, I still wouldn't. No one told me this. This is just knowing how the Browns operate and how they think. I still wouldn't rule out a trade down. But at this point, I think they stay right where they are.
You don't put nothing in their mind. You better stop that. Jason.
I'm serious.
Don't you do that.
Jay, let me
Would
ask
you
a
really
question.
be shocked if they traded down?
Don't you do that to me, dog.
You said there's really no reason to, swerve or zigzag or
Yeah.
whatever. I say there is, because if you're getting vibes that the Giants really love them, either guy, Hunter or Carter, if they really love them, and the Browns think that they can get an asset or two, because this has been what they've done.
That's why I just said I wouldn't rule out a trade down. Yeah.
So, am I advocating that they trade down? No. Would I be shocked? Absolutely not. I would not be shocked. It's what they've done.
If they move down 4 or 5 spots and pick up a future one, I won't be shocked at all.
Yeah.
Boy, y'all better stop it.
And here's the thing. So here's what that would mean, G. Is the player they take at 7 going to be better than the player they take at 2?
Hell to the no.
No, hold on. Go back in history and take a look and see how many guys.
Well, the Browns never get that right.
Never.
No, they don't. So now
Historically,
listen,
yes.
This goes back to.
You should be able to get as good as or better of a player depending on
In
your
fact,
needs or whatever.
go back in history and look how many times the 7 has been better than the 2.
But this is Cleveland.
But now this is where we get into trouble. I call it fan equity. And I give it to the Browns, and I give it to the Cavs, and I give it to the Guardians. The Browns have no fan equity with me. I typically believe, I'm asked this daily 10 times, what are they going to do? And I jokingly say, I don't know, but history says it'll be the wrong thing. And that's the only thing I'm confident in, guys. That's the only thing I feel confident in.
Listen, first of all, Shedeur was not the talk of what was going on at the Colorado Pro Day. It was Travis Hunter coming out there regular.
And I think it should have been.
At regular street clothes. He wasn't even supposed to work out. You know what it is, man. He came out there. Shout out to the Route God. If you don't know, check him out on Instagram. Check him out on YouTube. The Route God shows you all the greatest release packages in the world. Travis Hunter has obviously downloaded it like the Matrix. Like, he's over there just giving them, now. Listen, this dude is a monster, bro. Here's why I'm smiling. Even if you don't take Shadeur Sanders, I've said it from the beginning. Even if you don't get Shadeur Sanders, I still can walk proudly to Mr. Roger Goodell with the card and say, give me Mr. Electricity on both sides of the football. Look at him come up and make a tackle like that. Denzel Ward, that's how you do it. That's how you do it, Denzel. Look at this, man. Give me that guy, and you put him out there with Jerry Jeudy, Les Cook. I don't care who you get a quarterback. Now, go get Kirk Cousins, give him some money, whatever. You still get this guy. If I still have him, I'm good with it. I don't know, whatever it is, whatever you need. Now, for one time, you got 2 receivers, Jason, you got 2 targets.
He'd be the number 1, too, by the way.
And we're not talking about Cedric Tillman. We're not talking about little man Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
What about Anthony Schwartz?
We're not talking about Anthony Schwartz.
Okay,
Can you imagine all the 12 jerseys in Cleveland Browns Stadium? The 12 jerseys would be out and about, and you still can go back in and get you Mr. Electric. I ran a 4.3 something at Alabama's Pro Day, Jalen Milroe. Can you imagine? I'm excited about it, bro. But if you trade down and you let that man go get money somewhere else and become Mr. Box Office, and you're sitting there with a defensive tackle from Michigan? You're sitting there with a one-gapper?
We're giving too much credit to the fact that they're talking to him.
No, yeah.
They're talking to him for 33.
We'll do the Mason Graham thing in a little bit. This is the
in
Travis
no
Hunter part of
world,
the show.
in no world, let's get this absolutely
Please.
perfectly clear.
We're
Because
gonna
this
start
is where
this.
sometimes information gets twisted and turned. Let me just say this with all certainty. I can tell you which name won't be on their first-round pick at number 2. It will not be Mason Graham from Michigan.
We'll dive into the.
They might think 33, but they're not
We'll
thinking
dive into
2.
all the top 30
And by
visits
the
in a
way, to me, what I read about that is, if they're talking to him, that I don't think they're taking Carter at number 2. So I think they're looking at, well, who is the best next guy that we could get to pair with Myles Garrett?
As we talk about Travis Hunter, it really quickly, I know people, the thing that was impressive about that is he did that workout with no gloves. He did that workout. He wasn't
wearing skinny jeans. He's out there in skinny jeans and loafers.
He was. He was out there. He was out there in true religion. That wasn't true religion no more. He was out there in chrome hearts. He was out there moving around. I just like the fact that you're going to get, we've been told, look at that acceleration, man. Boy, I tell you. Listen, we've been told how many blue chip athletes is out there. We've been told Ashton Genty, but he's a running back. He may go a little, I got him going to the Raiders. Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. Those are the blue chip guys that are out there. That's it.
That's it.
And if the Cleveland Browns, if you would have told me the Cleveland Browns had an opportunity to get the most electrifying Heisman Trophy winner in the middle of the season, I would have said you're crazy. And the fact that he's still there, I don't care if they don't get Shadeur Sanders. You get a quarterback the other side. I got to come away with one of the blue chips, though. I got to have one of them.
Well, I think they will definitively have one of the two.
I got to have one.
One thing on Travis Hunter, then we'll move on and talk a little Cavs. There were 2 tweets that caught my eye about Travis Hunter following his workout at Colorado at their pro day. The first one comes from Louis Riddick, who played in the NFL, now is on ESPN. Louis Riddick said, played football a long time, been around football a long time, hanging out around pros in the league since middle school. Never seen a guy catch a ball, no gloves, while running routes, and not see him bobble it, double catch it, or hear the ball when it hits his hands. It goes on to say, it's like something I have never seen before. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, we mentioned Todd McShay in terms of Shadeur Sanders. He chimed in with some stuff on Travis Hunter, and because Tag Board sucks, you can't see the full tweet, so I will just read you guys the full tweet. Give me 1 sec to pull it up. But he basically went into some of the other stuff from Travis Hunter that doesn't always get talked about.
Wow, that's
from Todd
shot
McShay.
right there.
On Travis Hunter, he's the 8th player to ever be named a consensus first-team All-American and earn any level of academic All-American honors. In 24,
That's
Hunter
astounding.
earned
There's only been
academic
8.
All-American first-team honors for the 2nd consecutive year with a 3.79 GPA. He's an anthropology major, and he's just the 3rd Heisman winner to earn academic All-American first-team status, joining Florida Heisman winners Danny Werfel and Tim Tebow.
How can you
He's
go
the
wrong?
3rd ever.
That's impressive.
Talk about an Ivy League front office. I think that stuff goes a long way with that.
I've heard that he's and his football IQ's through the roof.
Our best player ever was Josh Gordon, right? Best
Ever?
player at receiver, talent-wise.
Okay, yeah.
We have not drafted receivers correctly. We have not even got skill positions correct.
I think it's the position we have most missed at, and of all of them on our team.
And the Browns have missed a lot on character. We talked about character since this show started at what level, like level 10. If you can get a guy that is hardworking, he's humble, he's smart, he don't do nothing, he don't drink, he don't smoke, he don't go to the club, he don't do nothing. All he does is sit there, play his video game, take everybody and try to learn the playbook. Listen, I'll take that guy.
The Cavs have an entire team of those guys.
Yeah, they do.
now.
All I'm asking for is one.
And they're locking up the 1 seed with all those guys.
Right. Just give me one. Listen, to send him, he could go to the potluck with Jared Allen and him, man. Like Isaac Okoro. I ain't heard Isaac Okoro do not one interview, say one bad word in his life. I'm like, dang, bro, we just need one of them. We get Travis Hunter, I'll take it, bro.
It's a great transition, G. We're going to talk Cavs after a quick word from Living for We. What happens when a regular day at school turns into the worst day of your life? Unfortunately, that's a reality that is happening way too frequently in today's world. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for young people in America, and in communities of color, the impact is even greater. Every bullet fired creates 2 victims, the person in front of the gun and the one pulling the trigger. Living for We, Keep Your Head Up is an award-winning podcast that focuses on real stories, real struggles, and real solutions in Northeast Ohio. New episodes drop every other Tuesday. The next one comes out tomorrow, so make sure you check it out. No one does a better job of bringing you stories from the front lines, the victims, the survivors, and those fighting for change. In each episode, they sit down with different organizations that are working to end gun violence and provide resources for those affected by gun violence. Whatever kind of help you need, there's a person for you to contact. Listen to Living for We wherever you get your podcasts, or watch the video version on IdeaStream's YouTube channel. You can learn more at ideastream.com/podcast/Living for We. Subscribe today to Living for We on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Cavs lost yesterday. It postponed their clinching of the number 1 overall seed. But the big story out of the game was, Steve, let's just take this video full. Donovan Mitchell stepped on Keon Ellis's ankle after making this layup. Sean Dunnigan, the terrific WKYC photog, did not necessarily get it because it was not part of the play, but this is the aftermath. Donovan on the ground, writhing in pain. He did return to the game 5 minutes later, finish the game. But Jason, how should the Cavs handle these next couple of the last final 4 games of the season, trying to balance keeping guys prepared for the playoffs while also keeping them healthy? This was a freak accident, by the way.
Yeah, you can't just bench guys for the last 5 games. Like, first of all, players will revolt. They want to play. Players want to play. They don't want to sit
They should play.
Yeah. But now I would say work backwards. Start at the season finale and work backwards. Nobody plays in the season finale. There's nothing on the line. There's no reason to play. Everybody's sitting. I mean, if Jarrett wants to keep his 82-game streak intact, he gets the jump ball.
And then he comes right out.
And he comes out. And they've done that before. And he gets credit for his game, and everybody gets out. So then you work back. So I would play them the game before that. But you can stagger the rest. But you can't not play guys because you're worried about an ankle or a calf. Does it suck? Yeah, of course it sucks. And yeah, it would suck if it happened. But I'm not going to sit here if it happens and scream, well, they shouldn't have been out there playing. You still have to – basketball, much like football, is a game of rhythm and having to stay in rhythm. And with shooting, with everything else. So you can't just take these guys out of the game entirely when there's still games going on. Now, it sounds a bit hypocritical because I've also said one of the big benefits that the previous era had was they would sweep teams and they would get that week off. Well, then because you're in practice and you can go to practice and you can dig in on practice and film and get off your feet and work on conditioning stuff. Where when you don't even have time to practice, it's not like you're missing out on team practices in this instance because there's still games going on, so there's no time to practice. So you have to play out the schedule. You have to let them play. You can scale back the minutes. You scale back the games. Some guys would be up and down. You can stagger them however you see fit. But you can't just shut everybody down for the last week of the season. That's just not how it works.
Yeah, here's what we're going to do. I don't like that, man. It's one of them things where you get a little scared on the sideline. I changed up my whole swag. I said, nope, that won't be happening no more. All 4 of them core dudes is not playing at the same time. 2 of them is down, 2 of them is up. And I'm limited minutes to roughly about 16, 17, if that. You're not going to be playing. You're going to be playing first half of these games. Hey, by the way, Jalen Tyson, get ready. Amadi Bates, get ready. We going straight summer league. We'll keep you out there with old school summer league compadre Sam Merrill. Isaac Okoro gets some minutes. Some of these down the liners. But we're not going to be playing these core 4 dudes. That ended that little experiment right there. That little ankle, because at first he was running, and I was scared when I was watching the game because it didn't look like it looked like a non-weight, like non-contact injury. So I said, hold on, did he just run and fall and grab his ankle in the back of his leg? You know what I thought about that? I said, nope, nope. I literally turned the TV off. I said, turn this off, man. I was like that, and I turned it back on, and they was like, oh, Donovan Mitchell's coming back in the game clapping. I said, for what? He should have been done that game. They need to take 2 of them at a time. They can figure out whoever it is, whether it's going to be Evan Mobley, 1 big, 1 guard. If it's Mobley and Garland going to sit out a game, cool. If it's Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen, I know Jared want to keep playing, but he's just going to be doing these tip-offs. I can't have him out there playing like that. Nope.
There's still a risk that they get hurt, whether it's 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 16, 32. There's still a risk.
I need to minimize it.
And you can minimize the risk, but you can't eliminate the risk.
Nope.
And you can't put these guys in bubble wrap. I agree with Jay. First of all, you're right. They want to play. Now, I don't know if they'd be happy with 16 minutes. Maybe they would. Maybe they just want to, try to keep the rust from growing on their game.
It's interesting because each guy sort of approaches it different. I've talked to players who say, listen, once you go through to activate my body for pregame, it doesn't matter if I play 16 minutes or if I play 38 minutes because I still have to go through everything to get my body ready to play that night. So at that point, the minutes don't matter. Then there's other guys who appreciate the lesser minutes. So it's really a case-by-case individual
and knowing
thing.
As a coach, and I'm sure by now Kenny does,
he
knows that Jarrett wants to be out there, period. He also probably understands that if it's close late in the game, that his horses are going to want to be on the court. I have a different concern. I'm not sure I ever felt the Cavs were going to win the NBA championship. Could they? Well, absolutely, they could.
Yes.
I still think they could.
Yes.
I never thought they were favored to win the NBA championship.
I don't even think they're favorites to get out of the East.
They're not. And I think that's probably where their season is going to end. I am way more concerned about a lot of collective things that I've seen over the last 15 games. That's why I asked Mike, what's their record over the last 15? They're a 500 team. That is not a good way to go into the playoffs. It just isn't. It never will be. I think that they can win the first two series, but I think their season ends with a series loss to the Celtics. Could be wrong. God, I hope, pray that I am wrong. Because I also believe that that will be their toughest series. I think if they beat the Celtics, I think they can beat whoever the West hands them. And I think the West they've got some really good, tough teams. And whoever comes out of that gauntlet, I believe, is going to be more beat up than whoever comes out of the East. I just think there's better, deeper teams in the West.
Would it change your opinion at all if I told you the Nuggets, the year they won the championship, went 7-7 in March?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
And
then in April, they went 2-3, so they finished the season 9.
It's very common.
I get it. I
common
understand
in
it.
the
I hate
NBA.
it. I don't like it. So after the injury last night, from that point on, the Cavs they looked not good. They lost to a bad team at home when they had a 8-point lead in the third quarter, whatever it was, 6 or 8.
They were up when Mitchell got
62,
hurt.
56.
When he came back, they were down. They cut it. They retook the lead in the fourth.
They did.
They went on a 10-0 run to start the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And then there was the whole Zach LaVine should have been a shot clock violation.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at that because I thought in real time that it was, but it's tough because when you're
The NBA
looking
official
at it,
said it was.
Yeah, the
NBA
officials
said they messed
submitted.
up.
They
Okay.
blew it.
Oh, good. Because what I don't like about looking at something on a computer is there's only so many frames that you can capture. At point 1 on the shot clock, the ball was in his hand.
No, they
But when
said
you advance to point 0 and the shot clock is over, the ball is out of his hand.
They said they blew it, but the rules didn't allow them. We
They
complain
blew
about
it by not looking at it.
Well, they couldn't look at it because they inbounded the ball so quickly.
Yep.
It lost the opportunity under
Wait,
the
I
NBA
thought
rules.
that even after the next bucket, which was a quick bucket, the Cavs got a dunk at the other end
Certain
quickly.
plays you can go back.
On
Other
that you
ones
can't?
No, you can't.
Oh, so I didn't know that. I
So
didn't
that's
know that.
something that we talk all the time about how long NBA replays take, and they got to speed these up, and they got to shorten them. And now here we
Right.
are saying there's something else they need to stop and look at. But you would think that's something that because they can go back at the next stoppage, they can go back and review a 2 versus a 3 at the next stoppage and play. You would think they should be able to go back and review that at the next stoppage and play. You don't necessarily want to stop the game for that.
See, I would because there's difference. I just think you want to get it right. That I always lean on you want to get it right, particularly in a game that's a 1-point game with 2 minutes to go or whatever there was left in the game. What I'm saying, what I don't think they got wrong is I think the ball was actually out of his hand.
Well, the league said no. They blew it.
I thought you're saying they blew it because they didn't stop play immediately.
No, they got the call wrong,
Yeah.
and they couldn't stop play because Max
okay. So
inbounded it so quickly.
I haven't seen the definitive look where the clock is at 0 and the ball's still in his hand.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. I couldn't get it frozen on my computer. By the time the ball was out of his hand, I saw the clock hit 0.
On TV, they slowed it down, and you could see it was still. It was a very bang call.
And that's why it should have been looked at in the moment.
But to what you're saying is, I completely agree with you. I'm glad you said it because usually if you say something like that about the Cavs, people gonna get on you because they're like, oh, we got the season, end of the season.
I could care less that people would get on me because I say the Cavs aren't going to win it.
Now
Get on me.
Here's
And then get off me.
yeah, that's crazy, man. I said that one time when I was in college.
Didn't work out, huh? You're going to have to leave.
Hey, I got practice in the morning. Hey, but listen, that's beside the point. Look, hey, the Cavs, to me, and I was sitting there talking to my dad about it. To me, it's still like we look at a lot of stuff. There's some bad habits. It just seems like when the Cavs do not shoot well, when they're not knocking down threes at a very high pace, their defense tends to slip. They slow the pace down. They don't get easy buckets. They tend to stagnate and go one-on-one a little bit more. They forget that Evan Mobley is a mismatch now. And sometimes down court, they got to remind them to say, hey, let the big fella touch it, just to make sure that they understand that that's what we're doing. Like, they have a tendency to give up a lot of offensive rebounds, long rebounds.
Yes.
And the problem is they pick and hunt off the pick and roll with Darius Garland and Max Strus and Donovan Mitchell to a lesser extent. And if you watched the game last night, Zach LaVine said, "Oh, I got Max Strus on me. You can't guard me. I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to go to work early and often.
7 or 8 threes?
7 or 8 threes, and he can pull up over top of him. He's longer. He jumps higher. And that's the thing. I think if the Cavs really want to win a championship, they got to really – I'm scared they have not narrowed a really like a rotation that is really going to be – optimum to stop the Celtics. I need Hunter to be playing. They need to be starting him off.
I do want more Hunter.
They just have to do it for defensive reasons. You can still play Max Strus all the minutes you want. He's still going to be. He's used to doing both. You could get him, but they have to have something. If you say, what do the Cavs do well, Jason, besides hit threes if the threes ain't falling?
Mike and I did a whole show on that. One thing that I think they hang their hat on is defense. This is a team that's going to guard, they're going to defend, especially in a playoff series. And offensively, the thing that I really like about them, about this team, they are going to get to the paint. And then what happens after that? So they're either it's a pick and roll, somebody's going to beat their man off the dribble, or they're going to run pick and roll. They're going to get to the paint. And then from there, it's either a finish, like you just saw with Donovan, it's going to be a kick to the corner, it's going to be a kick swing. But being able to get to the paint and collapse the defense, because of the way this team is built, because of their guard play, they are going to get to the paint. So that's what I think they hang their head on. If the threes aren't falling, they're still going to shoot threes. That's how they're built.
That's how, yeah.
Next one's going in. Next one's going in.
Yep.
And
Next one's
everybody
going
got
in.
the green light. Everybody except Jared.
But
At what point, though, do you stop? Because this
when
has been going on.
when the
Game's
buzzer
over.
sounds and the game is over, and you look up and see if
All
you
right,
won or
no more
lost.
threes, guys. Let's get on the bus.
But this is a team that's excellent at running pick and roll. It's a team that's really good with their guards, of being able to create and beat guys off the dribble.
At times they have
and
elite
get to the
ball
paint.
movement, too.
Yeah.
At time-
But when you get to the paint, it's like pressing go, and then everything begins with this team. And are you going to shoot to the corner, shoot swing? Are you just going to drive to the basket? Is it a pick and roll lob to Jared? There's so many variations and so many ways that this team can beat you. To me, it's all predicated on being able to get to the paint.
Who has to dominate? Like, for me, I think if you look at everything being equal, and you saying, all right, they're not the favorites in the East. I always come back to, if the Cavs are going to win, Darius Garland has to play not just good. He has to play like a superstar for them to win.
I mean, I think when we get to the end of the postseason, we're going to look back and say Evan Mobley was the best player of the playoffs.
I could agree with that.
I think we're quickly getting to that point. And I mean, Donovan could drop a 50 burger on somebody, like in one of these playoff games. I wouldn't rule that out at all. But when we get to the end, no matter when it ends, if it ends conference finals, if it ends NBA finals, if it ends in a parade, I think we will look back and say Evan Mobley is what made that team go.
So he's the most
in the
important
playoffs. To
for
me,
you.
he is. Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't think I'm there yet. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think he can be yet. I think he's still some time away. I think
He might
when
be a
push
year
comes
away.
to shove, I think he probably is.
Well,
and I think that when push comes to shove, I still think that they're, because it's in their DNA, they're gonna lean more heavily on Donovan because he's the proven guy that's done it.
I think
There will be nights, absolutely. There's going to be playoff games where the ball's in Donovan's hands and he gets you 40, whatever it is.
Do you think Mobley is ready to be
I do.
that guy, the
Yeah.
best guy on the team
I
every
do.
night?
Yeah, I do.
I think Donovan gonna have to win you 2 games. Evan Mobley gonna have to win you 1, and Darius Garland gonna have to win you 1. They give you 4 games.
Yeah, I don't think Evan's their best player. I think he's their most important because of what he brings on both ends of the court. And if you don't have Evan in the game playing at the level we have seen Evan play for the majority of this season, the options behind Evan are slim. Donovan, at least, if Donovan doesn't play or is having an off night, you have other supplemental guards, Darius, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, who can create that offense.
Yeah.
When you take Mobley out of the equation,
You lose
their
something
paint
you can't
touches go
replace.
down, they become too reliant on jump shots, and defensively, I think he should win Defensive Player of the Year. So you're taking out of the game the best defensive player in basketball who covers for Donovan, Darius, and some of the other guards who are undersized and not elite defenders.
Yeah.
You can get away with some of those things because you have Jared and Evan at the paint waiting for them.
Yep.
When you take him out, it's a whole different equation for
So
Cleveland.
my question to you is what I asked Jay. Do you think that he can be the best player, or, I think Jay's words were, when it's all said and done, we're going to look back and say Evan was – they went as far as Evan could take them.
Yeah.
Do you think they can win an NBA championship, or just say the East? Evan's ready to play that role right now.
If they're going to be Boston, Evan's going to have to be the best player on the court, yeah.
And that's so like
You're giving me a hypothetical. I'm asking you, can he? Against Boston.
He was really good in the playoffs against Boston last year. Yeah, I mean,
but there was a reason he was really good in the playoffs
today,
last year
if you're
against
asking me to
Boston.
pick between the Cavs and the Celtics, I still think the Celtics and the Kings, they have to be beaten.
the
I think
concern
it's close.
with the concern
but
with
that's not out
Mobley
of
is
the
he's going to
question.
get pushed around by Porzingis.
That's my concern.
100%. That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Right.
And that may happen a game or two. That absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's a red herring. I think the reason why I keep saying Darius Garland is because Darius Garland is back in this mode of turning the ball over. He on defensively, he's getting at the head of the defense. Evan Mobley can't be and have 3 fouls because they're letting guys go to the rim. That can't happen. And on top of that, he's had traditional poor shooting nights against the Celtics, and they post him up with White and Holiday. So he has so it's a 3-prong. I know for a fact Evan Mobley can give me one of these games a 25-point, 16 rebound, 3-block game, and he had a couple threes. But then again, they got Tatum, they got Brown, they got Porzingis. You can't just have Donovan and Evan Mobley. Darius Garland gonna have to be a 25-point guy, at least 20, and lowering them turnovers if they want to win.
Really good defensive teams like Boston can neutralize guard play, blitz pick and rolls, get the ball out of his hand.
Yeah.
Then what do you got next? And that's where the Cavs. We talked about it for years. That's where the Cavs ran into so many problems in the playoffs.
They didn't have anything after
They didn't
that.
have anything else in the bag.
It's Danny Green and Isaac Okoro in the corner.
Yeah, and this is much.
Yes.
But a lot of this is also predicated on Evan being able to punish teams for doing things like
I
that.
thought it was interesting that the last time that Boston played, this was after the Hunter trade, I was really anxious to see, okay, we got a new element here. Let's see how that matches out. I thought it was a pretty shrewd move. I thought it was smart by Boston to hold Porzingis that night. He didn't play.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty smart. Let them have the last memory of Porzingis on the floor, one of him dominating, like we know that he has typically in the past. I think the matchup that will decide the Eastern Conference Finals is Mobley and Porzingis. If Mobley rises to the occasion and does something that he heretofore hasn't been able to prove he can do consistently against him, I think they can beat the Celtics.
Yeah.
If Porzingis is dominating Mobley, we don't have a chance. I don't think we win the series.
All right, let's talk a little Guardians, guys. But first, a quick word from 2 advertisers with the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. The first is Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. This next segment's also brought to us by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are starting up next week, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Jay, before we dive into the Guardians this weekend, WKYC and the Cleveland Guardians are continuing their 20-year partnership. WKYC will be the home for 10 separate Guardians games this year, Jay, and no one presents Cleveland Guardians games better than you guys do upstairs at Channel 3.
We're pumped. We're very excited about this. I think fans should be excited because it gives fans an opportunity to see them on over-the-air free television, which believe it or not, in television is becoming in vogue again. We talked on this show when the Suns were purchased not long ago that the new owner decided, well, what am I going to do with the contract? Well, who do I want the local? I'm going to put all the games on local over-the-air broadcast TV. It's kind of a cut off your nose to spite your face move when they were moved to cable or pay, because that's a pay platform. Especially in a market like Cleveland, where we have one of the highest poverty levels of all the major sports cities, but in almost all of the United States.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people, and it doesn't sound like, people hear it like, come on, man, what is it, an extra $10 a month? Pony up. Some people don't have it. A lot of people don't have it. And what they've done in this long-term play of taking their games to pay TV is you've lost fans. You've lost the opportunity to have the next generation of fans, because if they're growing up in a household where there's not the opportunity to watch baseball games, guess what that means? They're not going to be fans.
No.
So it's a long-term play to put them on over-the-air free television. Will we ever get to a point where there's 162 games free? No, because they need the pay source. They need the revenue. But I think it is a nice move in the right direction that they're going to simulcast these 10 games, and I'm thrilled to be at the station that happens to be putting those games on television, because I do think I am a seam head to the core. I try to promote baseball whenever I can. And this allows me to tell the people that in the past have used as an excuse, well, I can't afford them. Now you can. It's free. It's over the air. It's only 10 games. But when I was a kid, I don't know what the number was. I'd have to go back and look. 1972, how many games were televised? Maybe 30?
Man.
It was a big deal when they were on TV.
In the 80s, I remember I had to see about 60 games at WUAB.
Yes, when they went to 43.
Yeah, 43. They was on all the time taking L's, but that's how I got to see them.
Took a lot of L's.
A lot of L's during the 80s, man.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And always on the road, never at home. We could never see the home
No, you could
games.
never watch it. And that was, so the thinking there was,
That was
I remember,
crazy.
you know who changed all this, oddly enough? Ted Turner. Ted Turner, when he bought WTBS, it was Channel 17 in Atlanta. It was just an over-the-air UHF unaffiliated television station. And he said, I want to make this a big deal. I want to make it a super station.
Yeah.
So he went and launched a satellite in the sky, which no local television station had ever done. The networks had them, but no locals. And he did it with the sole intent of, I am going to make available to the entire United States of America a baseball game a day.
And he did it.
And they became, their marketing was America's team.
And then they started doing, they had a weird time called 8:15. Like the games will start at 8:15. I'm like, well, everybody watched the Braves. It was
that
just
was
like,
done intentionally.
Yeah.
Put them in a prime time window, maximize their viewership. And here's what Ted commissioned a study. He said, I want to know, how will the games being on TV affect my gate, affect my attendance? And then you start dollar cost averaging and saying, will the difference between being able to sell national advertising supersede whatever I will lose at the gate? And you know what they found? Didn't affect the gate. Baseball is baseball. People love to go to the games. That's why the road games used to be on, because they didn't want you to not come to the home games.
That's not what was preventing people.
That is not what, you know what? You want to fix something? Stop losing 100 a year.
Right.
Well, speaking of losing, Jay, we got to dive into what happened to the Guardians this weekend.
they lost.
We're on Friday's show, and I know you weren't here, but Bo was sitting in your chair and said he liked the pitching matchups against the Angels. They were not going to face their top pitcher. He liked each of the individual matchups. Jose hits 3 home runs on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday did not go as planned. When you look at the start of the season to the Guardians, and Jay, you mentioned it off the top here, they may just not have that magic they had last season. What is the issue, I guess, for lack of a better way to phrase it, that has prohibited this team from living up to the preseason expectations?
Well, this is simple. Strikeouts are down and home runs are up for the pitching staff. They're giving up more home runs than they did last year, and they're not striking out as many guys. And in 2025, baseball is predicated on home runs and strikeouts. How many times are you missing bats, and how many times are you hitting out of the park? And it's 9 games, right? Like, there's still plenty of time to go. So I don't even know if that's enough of a sample size to say it's a trend. I'm just pointing out the fact that if you look at home runs per 9 innings and strikeouts per 9 innings, the pitching it's not. I thought that I thought it'd be better than what we've seen so far. The lineup actually has been moderately decent at times. They're hitting the ball out of the park a little bit more, but the pitching hasn't been there. And there you see Tanner Bybee really struggle in his last start. We've talked about how important he is to this team. Jose's off to a great start.
He never could start so hot.
No,
Yeah.
it's a great start. But you know what's wrong with that line?
4 homers, 6 RBI.
Most of his home runs are solo home
Yeah,
runs.
nobody's on base.
Nobody's on base. You're wasting them. You're wasting them.
Yeah.
I didn't like the move. I was 100% against the move. I'm even more against it. I know it's small sample size. We've played 8% of the season. I can't freak out about it, but I don't think that's going to change. Now, he's hitting the ball, but I just don't want my best hitter.
There was a moment. One of the home runs came with 2 outs, and I thought of you because I thought,
Yep.
innings over if Jose's not up, and they just got a 2-run homer out of it. I think it was one during the 3-homer game Friday night.
Well, the other 2 were solo shots.
Where it was like, I can't remember. I should have texted because I remember thinking,
I'm looking it up right now. Hold on.
you can find it where it was there was 2 outs and Jose hit, I think, a 2-run homer. And I thought, boy, if that could be the difference there in leading off the next inning or
With nobody on base.
Yeah. or taking advantage of that spot. So I see both sides of it. I hear what you're saying.
By the way, that's not the only reason they're 3-6.
Of course not. Yeah, a big reason they're 3-6 is because their strikeouts are down and the home runs are up on the pitching staff, and the bullpen hasn't been nearly what it was.
I say
last
this every year.
Yeah,
I remember 2 years ago having a conversation with pitching coach and manager. Okay, saying, how do you feel about recreating your dominance from the bullpen a year ago? Because the hardest thing to do is to recreate it. And it was kind of laughed off as, yeah, we hear that all the time. But
Can't do that.
there's a reason you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Year to year, dog.
Year to year. And what are we seeing about the bullpen this year? My God, they leak oil every time they come into the game. They walk guys. Yesterday, I thought for the most part they did get a good starting pitching performance. But you absolutely tube an 0-2 slider.
yeah.
Like that, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even try to nibble. I think it hit the nitro zone. And you can't do that when you're 0-2. So I can't even say yesterday, I know it looks like a quality start. He went 6, he gave up 3.
Yep.
And for all
And
the
didn't
other
walk
time,
anyone. That's huge.
yes, that
For
was
him,
great.
that's huge.
It was great. But, I mean, it was the best start they had. It's the best start they've had all year, I believe, except for maybe Bybee 2 Sundays ago when they lifted him too early because he retired 13 in a row, then he walked a guy, then they got him out. I think it will change the way the bullpen is used if the bullpen keeps pitching like this because Cade Smith can't get outs. Oh, my God. I feel bad for Tristan McKenzie.
It's scary.
He's not.
because
I don't even know who that guy is anymore.
It's like telling your defense in football, hey, listen, last year we got all these turnovers, and
Yep.
they'd expect to get them same turnovers.
No.
There's a little bit of luck involved. There's a little bit of, when the best part of your game is the bullpen, that's a little scary because we've seen people be great one year and then the next year fall completely off.
tough.
So, yeah, and guess what? I was gonna come over here and talk about the Sticks, but like Jason said, Sticks ain't been crazy. They ain't been crazy, but they ain't been bad either.
No.
They've been getting some time to hit. Jose is off to a good start. My thing is this, man. I think they're just going to. I don't think they're going to hit enough home runs. I just don't think they're going to hit enough home runs in order to keep up with some of these other. Now, granted, they're in a bad division, and not a bad division, but the division is nowhere near some of the other ones.
Yeah.
And they'll stay afloat.
not the NL West,
But I had it like this in the end. I had either Detroit, Kansas City, and Minnesota over them. But as you can see, they're even with Minnesota. They'll be able to tread water all year. It's just the fact that I'm just looking where are they going to get stops if you lose 1-2 games in a row. Who's the pitcher that comes in and says, no, mark me down for this quality 6 innings and getting the win? I don't know where I'm
Class A
getting
hasn't been Class A. Smith hasn't been Smith. Hey, Jay, have you asked anybody? I meant to reach out again. Are any of the guys using torpedo bats?
I haven't seen. I've
I've been looking with my eyes. I haven't seen anybody
them.
that's using
and
them.
And again, they were around last year.
But not like they are now.
No, but they were around and in existence last year.
Yeah, because
No.
a lot of teams have added. Guys have added them.
Yeah.
Because why not? They see what the Yankees are doing, so they've added them. I'm yet to see anybody in the Guardians lineup unless I'm just missing it. Some of them don't have as much taper back in.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of hard to pick it up.
Some of them are obvious. Some of them maybe not so much. I haven't spotted with my eye. I haven't seen anyone. I haven't
I'm ordering one and I'm going to use it. I want to just see,
Check it out.
I want to feel.
Why are these so
So
much
what
better?
they've done was essentially the old bat tapers steadily up. So the fattest part is the end.
Yeah.
Well, leave it to an MIT scientist. And then the Yankees went to some MIT folks and said, "Hey, you guys are physicists. Help us on, maybe there's a let's break the paradigm of the baseball bat." And they said the first thing they came up with was, "Well, do you ever hit the ball off the very tip? And if you do, what can you expect from it?" Well, it's an out.
Yeah.
And your bat probably breaks.
And the bat breaks. And no, the idea is to not hit it there. Okay, so let's take some of that bulk away. Let's move the sweet spot down the barrel. And in making the upper half now thinner, you're making it lighter, which increases your bat speed.
How the
I know.
How
150 years we've been using the telephone pole.
How did Major League Baseball, with all their rules and regulations and all their records,
It's still
let
legal.
you get that off?
It's still legal.
It is legal because in the definition, the rule book is very funny. It talks about how the bat can be, I think, no wider than 2 6/7 inch or
yeah,
six,
I
I
thought
don't
it
know.
was 2 1/4, but
Maybe
it's
I thought it was a little bigger, but whatever it is, it can be no bigger than that. And it's funny. The paradigm is when you're on a lathe and you're working, it's easier to make something gradually taper than it is to come back in. Like, okay, picture a leg on a chair. And oftentimes they have designs like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's a difficult spin on a wood lathe because now you're going in and back out and you're doing that. Well, with a baseball bat, it's easy, just and you just taper it up. You can make a thin handle. Like I've got some infielders bats. They're called infielders bats because typically in the old days they were smaller. They wanted a lighter bat. Those have thinner handles. And then sometimes the Rico Cardi bats that are 40 ounces, they're just chunk all the way in the meat spot, but that's hard to swing.
What? They're banning something. The Major League Baseball is like, no, we're not going to have this anymore. I don't know.
No, this is good.
No.
This is good for baseball.
No,
Rob
no,
Manfred came out and
it's
said,
great for baseball.
"This is awesome. People
Why
are
would
talking about baseball. They need more home runs.
You know what
they
they've
want
done?
more offense."
They have now again. The Yankees had one game where they went bananas, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, they're using a different bat. They're cheating." No,
see this stuff.
and here's the other thing. I need to look at an entire season,
Right.
and I want to look at all the guys that use torpedo bats and all the guys that use the traditional bats and find out what the home run ratio is, home runs per at bat.
It also helps.
It's too short of a sample size now to know.
Yeah,
This is wild.
yeah, and I mean the abilities obviously has a lot to do with it
Of
as
course.
well. And Aaron Judge doesn't use one, which
No.
is what's interesting.
Now,
about
Aaron
it.
Judge doesn't need to use one.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge could pull a telephone pole out of the ground and swing it and hit a home run.
I would
Oh
just.
wow, this is.
you got a good look at one?
Oh wow, this is
Yeah.
different.
Now, that one doesn't even taper back in as much. That one is steady all the way to the end.
I just wonder if it swings, if it feels almost like an unloaded, or if it swings
Yeah,
different.
So
you
that's
know?
what I want to. So what I want to do is, I want to test. That's a good look at one.
Yeah,
that's
that-
a more
I
dramatic.
don't know if you guys can see that.
So what I want to do is I want to use it in the cages first, and I want to see how the weight distribution on the bat changes.
Yeah.
Do you get that natural, almost like a whip, like a flip,
Right.
because where the weight is distributed on the bat now, and also I want to feel how the ball comes off the bat, and particularly when you hit it in that sweet spot, is it traveling farther? Does it come off with a different sound? I'll know a half hour into a cage session. I'll be able to formulate my own opinion, but it doesn't mean it's science. It just means that's what I'm experiencing.
There's nothing more in sports that feels better than hit a baseball
Nothing.
on a sweet spot.
Nothing.
And know you hit it, and it just feels like nothing.
It is, and I tell
Nothing in
people
your
this,
hands.
it is the greatest feeling in the world.
When you got all of it, let's see.
And here's what's funny. You also know when you just miss it.
Yep. Yeah.
And so
Yep.
I was reading about it the first weekend. I was reading some of the players' comments, and they were saying a lot of the balls that you were just missing are going over the fence.
Yeah.
So what you've done is,
baseball.
if you
Okay.
increase the home run
Okay.
total by
I like that.
8%, that is a dramatic shift. And now you've got baseball back into the steroid era. But here's
Yeah.
what they're going to have to do. I was telling another lifelong baseball player and fan like myself, I told him this last week. You might actually now have to read, because everybody's saying, what are you going to do with the records? They can't. There are some traditionalists that want them to keep using the old bats. because they're saying, look, if everyone's using them, there's no advantage, there's no disadvantage. You keep the eras intact. But baseball is struggling. And if you can reinvigorate the game like it was in 2000 when you had the summer of the home run with Sosa and McGuire, then, and you could do that naturally without risking the health of the players, and all you're doing is making a subtle change to the main piece of equipment, you do that, and here's what happens. If guys start hitting 80 home runs a year, and I think that could absolutely happen, then you have the live bat era. So we went from the dead ball era to the live ball era, and home run totals are looked at completely different. When Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs, I believe he hit more home runs than 9 teams combined. Than 9 other teams had with all of their home runs added up. Babe Ruth out-homered 9 teams by himself.
That's wild.
So you'll have some demolishing of records. But that's good. You know what's terrible? Well, this record will never be broken.
I hate that.
We love to see records broken. We love it.
I want more Brady Andersons. I want Brady guys.
The amount of drugs he had to been on.
Oh, boy. He was like $170 and he never hit no more than 20 home runs,
and then he hit
51 or 52. And he was on the cover of every fitness magazine on the planet.
Jacked up. I said, I like this era.
That was the steroid era.
There was old black ladies going to like random ballparks. Like they showed it in Chicago. There were the Sammy Sosa stuff. There was regular black people from the inner city that had never watched the Cubs, and they were just packing the stadiums out.
Sure.
And they would come on at the end of this is like Dan Rather and those news guys and Mark McGuire.
It was the lead story on the evening news just about every night
week.
in the month of September.
Yep.
Every night.
Because Sosa would homer and then McGuire would homer, and they were the graphics. Sosa 55, McGuire 57.
People go to water
now
cooler.
Remember, nobody had ever hit 62. The record was 60 until 1961 when Maris hit 61, and that record stood for 37 years until 98 when it was not broken by both guys, it was demolished. Someone asked me, well, what was it like? What would you equate it to? And I said, that'd be like if 2 guys tomorrow ran an 8-second 100.
Yeah.
What are you going to say if that happens? They're cheating.
I mean, Rafael Palmeiro was hitting singles, and then he started hitting 50 home runs. I said, bro, Rafi, when did he get this game?
When he started doing Viagra commercials.
So, Jay,
he was on another type of drug.
Before we move on, 3 and 6.
There's a wood joke in there. I'm not going to make it.
3 and 6 to start the season.
Yeah.
It's early, so once again, no need to overreact to any of this yet. It's still very, very early, but more concerning through 9 games, the offense or the pitching. The defense has not been that great either.
No, it hasn't, but that's to be expected. And then it doesn't help when Andres Gimenez goes and hits 5 home runs in 3 days or whatever. And whatever he did.
Did he change his name or something?
No, I mean, Yandy did the same thing.
Yeah,
when Yandy went to Tampa, he hit 3 home runs. Everyone went, there you go.
Yeah, I know.
And then
Nolan Jones. Look at what Nolan Jones. Now he's with us again. How's he look?
But Yandy is still Yandy. He had he is what he is, and I think Himmy is what Himmy is. Maybe he does hit 20 this year.
Look,
I don't know.
We know he's got it in him. He had a great year. It led to a big contract, and then his offense fell off.
Yeah.
I know he's hot about this. He is not happy about the trade. And I read this is just a fan's account. These are anecdotal stuff. I don't know if it's consistent with his behavior or not. But I read something from a fan who wrote, wow, what's going on between Gimenez and the Guardians? We went to a Blue Jays game at spring training, and we thought that we would, support him. And we're like, hey, Himmy, we love you in Cleveland. And his reaction was visceral. Like, I won't say what was reported to have been said, but it was like, whoa, this dude's holding a grudge to Cleveland fans even.
Hey, he was.
And that could be why he started off so hot.
He was sold as he felt like he was the face of the franchise. They had to make it.
He was next up, G.
We had said, we won the Lindor trade.
Yes.
We won it because of Himmy.
Like he made an all-star team. His glove was dynamic. He was hitting the ball, and then he had a couple bad years, and it was like, we're regretting giving you that bag. He's like, what you talking about? Like,
it happened quick.
It happened quick,
and I think he's bitter about it, and maybe that's extra motivation. Teams typically tend to do much better when they face the team that traded them later in their career. Not always, but
Yeah.
a lot of times you'll see, the Guardians traded this guy 2 years ago, and his lifetime, or now his stats against the Guardians since he's hitting .518 with 6 home runs and 13 RBI. You do. I know I do. I try harder against certain people and teams.
Andrew Wiggins did that Andrew Wiggins scored like 40 against the Cavs
every time he played. And then he'd go out the next night and score 5.
Yeah.
So there's something to that. But to answer your question, Mike, I'm far more concerned right now about the pitching than I am the hitting, because I do think there are a lot of things about the lineup I like. I've seen some things, some positive things. I thought Brian Rocchio would kind of be playoff Brian Rocchio.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised.
And he has gone back to regular season Brian Rocchio, and who knows, maybe he is Bucky Dent or,
it's April 7th.
I know, way too early to make any snap judgments. But, you can only judge by what you've seen so far, and I'm concerned by what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
I am for sure.
We'll dive into the home opener. We'll do a ton of preview tomorrow on the Guardians home opener tomorrow, 4 o'clock, in what should be some winter-like weather here.
It's going to be, 32?
That is what they're calling for. Now, hopefully it has a change of heart. But
I can't even watch a baseball game at 32 degrees. I won't go to a baseball game and sit outside and watch a baseball game at 32 degrees. I wouldn't do it.
I swear up and down during the baseball games, even though you play football and then you play baseball, the baseball games in the spring just seem colder than the football games in the winter, and I'm just like, why?
Because you're prepared for it in football.
Yeah, it's just you're
And
out.
the other thing, when you make contact, whether it's metal or wood, on a cold day, you're almost thinking, well, there is a silver lining. If I strike out, I don't break my hands.
And you don't have, if you play the other sports, you don't have time to build up your calluses back up. So, like, everybody else has been playing baseball, you come off basketball and you swing in the bat, your hands are bleeding inside.
You got those baby hands.
There's like, man, you better put them gloves on. I'm like, no, I got to build these calluses up, bro. This is not working for me.
Yeah, so we'll dive into all of the Guardians home opener storylines tomorrow, but we got to get back to the NFL draft after a quick word from our new sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. But now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today, an expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on the progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every possible deduction and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy, all so you can get the most money back, guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available at TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only on the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. So, guys, if they don't take Shadeur Sanders at 2 and don't take a quarterback with their first pick, we have talked at length about the Browns possibly using number 33 to select a quarterback, whether that be Tyler Shook, Jalen Milroe, whoever. Well, over the weekend, Dane Brugler reported that Jalen Milroe has officially been invited to the NFL's green room, which is typically reserved for players with a first-round grade, guys that the NFL believes will be a first-round draft pick. We've seen guys be invited to the green room that don't get selected in the first round, but it's a pretty high indication that teams value Jalen Milroe maybe more than the mock draft simulators we play with on a day-to-day basis. If Jalen Milroe is the quarterback the Browns truly do love, can they afford to wait to 33 to get Jalen Milroe, or after seeing this infight, do they have to trade up into the first round to get the Bama quarterback?
Listen, if they want any quarterback, they better do it and do it. Jay mentioned before. There's guys going to be getting reached for. There's guys, Dart ain't going to be there. I told you, these guys, you take a look at the Saints, they need a quarterback. The Giants need a quarterback. You take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers need a quarterback. These dudes ain't going to be here. And plus, it only makes sense. Y'all been telling me, y'all, you analytics people, I've been trying to listen and study. I said, you got to have, if you got a franchise quarterback, you want to get him under the 5th-year deal, right? You want 5 years to have him, right?
There's a big difference between 32 and 33.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
You get an extra year.
And you get an extra year. You can redshirt him practically if you want to, and don't play him. You still got 4 years. And given the fact that Deshaun Watson's still on your books, you got a guy that's making cheap money that is not going to be due. And you can franchise him after that if you want to. So That's why you take a lottery ticket, and I would take a quarterback this year. If they didn't really like it, I'd take a quarterback next year, because you're really not really handcuffed like that. If you don't really like them, you could consistently move back to another year and take another one. So yeah, you got to get up and get Jalen Milroe in the 30 somewhere in the first round, because I want the 5th-year option. I want the ability to have him into a system. I could still get a veteran quarterback. I want him to have, he's not going to cost that much money in terms of millions and millions of dollars like a franchise quarterback would. And I'm ready to get 2 for 1. I'm trying to get as much talent as I can to get back respectable as quickly as possible. And I would like to get back in the first round. And if they want a quarterback, no matter who it is, whether it's Shuck or him or whatever, they're going to have to get back in the first round to do it.
But, Philly picks 32, right? Because they won the Super Bowl?
Correct, yes.
I would expect Philly to be getting a call at the end of the first round from the Cleveland Browns if they don't take their quarterback at number 2, and they will make whatever deal they need to make with the Eagles to flip one spot. I don't know, what is that worth? A 5th-round pick? I have no idea.
According to the trade chart, it's very easily you can get that. Well, they'll want more, but the points add up. You can give them a couple of. You can give them 4th-round pick,
if I'm Philly, I'm saying this. Oh, they're desperate. They're going to take a quarterback. And They're going to get an extra year of control. So they're offering a 4. Ask for a 3rd.
Well, I think it'd be minimal. I don't think it would be.
I don't either. I don't know what it would take.
But,
I don't know that there's precedent for it.
I think there's a lot of teams at the bottom of the first round that'd be willing to play ball. I was told Washington might be a team.
But it doesn't
at
have to be
29.
32. They can do 29.
But what's interesting about 32 is, they just got together on the Kenny Pickett trade.
Right.
Obviously,
there's a relationship.
Sirianni and Stefanski
they do these
are very
workouts
close.
together.
Barry's brother still works for the Eagles.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of symmetry between the two organizations.
Yeah.
So I certainly wouldn't rule out something like that happening. I just don't think that that's the only dance partner. I think that there's other, and that's why you don't wait until it's 32. You're calling it 29. You're calling.
Yeah, you're trying to work deals as much as you can. But if it gets to 31, now you're desperate.
Sure, but I think that they could pull something before.
I would hope so.
Before Philly's on the clock, if that's the route they want to go.
I spot Shadow 15. I need to be talking to these guys at 15. The Falcons are sitting there at 15. Obviously, they got Penix. Obviously, you got Kirk Cousins. You ain't going to give us Kirk Cousins. Can we talk about some things? And I'd be willing, at as high as 15, I'd be willing to talk about a 3rd-round pick. What you want? What do you want to do? I got 2 of them.
I know we say, if you don't get one this year, you take one next year. You keep doing it. I think the reason the Browns are in the position they are in, the 2 big reasons. They missed at the most important position, and there were 3 straight years where they couldn't send a card to the podium in the first round.
Yeah.
That is so punitive. That may have as much to do with their decline as the fact that they missed at quarterback, because they did get okay play at quarterback for stretches.
And that's all true. I don't argue any of that. Yet at the same time, if Deshaun became what we thought Deshaun would be, it would gloss over so many of these other weaknesses.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who's the guy on ESPN?
But it makes those misses even more glaring.
Yeah,
who was the Jets' former GM that's on ESPN?
Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum. I was going over clips. I was going over I got you moments. I got a list of them.
Everyone has them, by the way.
It's like Tannenbaum was like, Deshaun Watson? What, are you kidding me? He said he would sell his wife and his daughter that aged poorly. He said, I said that aged crazy.
Yeah.
This was prior to all that. He said when this was known right before, like he sat out a year, nobody knew what was going on. So I'm like, oh, that was wild, because they was talking about how much would you trade. He said, I'd give him 4 first-round picks, my wife and daughter. I said, bro, that's wild. I ain't even going to bring that up. But
his daughter, by the way, no longer talks to him. His wife divorced him.
Yeah, that was water under the bridge, man. Everybody liked him a little bit, but I agree, Jason. To me, if you miss big on Watson, the only way to make it up is to keep going after big. I'm sorry. I don't think you can just I lost 3 draft picks, 3 rounds where I couldn't even go up there and give a first round pick. I need to figure out something and somebody to build off of.
That's why I think this pick is so important for so many reasons.
Number 2 or 33?
Number 2.
I think 33
you
is
have
crazy too.
to reestablish that you've had 3 years with no first-round draft pick contributing to your team. At the time of the trade, I screamed as loudly as I could without breaking anyone's eardrums, and I may have. You can't do that. You can't. Because, okay, what if you have a great quarterback? You have 3 straight years where you don't have a first-round draft pick on your team. That is so much more punitive. Go to any NFL team right now and say, we're going to take your 22, 23, and 24 first-round picks off your team. You good?
The Rams didn't make a first-round pick for 6 straight years.
No, but you know what they did? They hit on Puka Nacua.
Yeah. I'm just saying, you're saying it's not possible.
No, I'm not saying it's not possible. By the way, what has that led them to? What have they done?
A Super Bowl.
No, they won the Super Bowl after they made the trade.
Okay.
It's the years after that where the giving up the first-round picks have a price.
They're still shining the ring. They're still shining the ring.
It'd be great if we had one to shine, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
of course. So what I'm saying is, for every one of those you give me, the reason the Rams story was echoed from the mountaintops because it worked. Look how many teams have made that reach and it didn't
work. If the Deshaun trade worked, 3 first-round picks wouldn't matter.
No.
It would not matter.
And you know the deal with ifs.
And I know, this is why I can feel for the people who say that. Listen, if I'm trying to empathize and put myself in your shoes, you're like, look, man, we just swung and missed on that. We ain't getting no draft.
Big swing and miss.
Big swing.
The owner said that publicly.
So now we at number 2. I got to get a good player.
You can't. What can
I got. You can't come out of there with nothing.
You can't swing and miss again.
That feeling in your stomach is I just want a player. Give me somebody that's concrete.
He's gonna be on my team in 5 years.
And I can't pass on that for maybe. So I get you. So I understand what people talk about it too. But I'm back getting the risk at 33. Like, I got my guarantee, I'm risking again at 33 because I'm trying to figure this out. I'm like, okay, now I'm trying to go for the gusto because now I can say, well, look, you came out of here with a guaranteed guy. Now I can come out of here
and get a little risky.
Okay. And if you hit on, if the Browns hit on a quarterback at 33 where they moved into the first round and got who they needed to get, they didn't reset themselves.
So, they have to move up from 33 to get Milroe, though. You think Milroe will be on the board at 33 or no?
No.
Jay, do you think Milroe will be on the board at 33 or no?
I think in all likelihood, what we'll see is what we see every year. There are teams that are desperate for the best position in sports. Someone's going to take him before the Browns come back around at 33.
Ain't nobody about
That's why he was invited to the first round of the draft.
Jason, do you agree? Make it 3 for 3, or do you think he'll be there at 33?
This is hard.
You know what? If he just had average measurables, he would be there.
You keep saying, Jason.
After he ran the 40,
you want something. What is elite about him?
His speed.
And he got
speed.
Absolutely.
Got
and that's why. And because Lamar went, he was the last pick, but he went in the first round. And because of that there.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Now, Anthony Schwartz was that fast, too.
I mean, this man is running away from defensive backs.
Will he do that at the NFL level?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, no kidding.
I had someone at the
so.
owners' meetings. I had an NFL personnel tell me at the owners' meetings, he will make defensive coordinators bleep their pants.
Yeah. Well, he can do things that nobody else in the league can do right now.
Because of that.
I mean, I don't think Michael Vick was that fast. Now, Michael Vick was a burner. But I believe his measurables are all faster than Michael Vick's.
I'm going to sit here and tell you, can you imagine having to stay backside as a defensive end on one of them Kevin Stefanski bootlegs?
No.
You keep running boot.
We might finally get an end-around play that works for more than 1 yard.
When you talk about processing, I mean, the kid can process with the best of them. He's brilliant.
I know.
But can he get it there?
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. You got to be able to get it there.
You know what? Yeah. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, I know. Enjoy the play.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important. It comes down to talent development and player evaluation. If you've got the right guys who can get that out of them, you will have a star. But it's a huge if. Otherwise, you got to win. Otherwise, you got a running back.
I think we have an advantage here because we've got an offensive coordinator that has worked specifically with this kid.
Yeah.
Or he knows the answer. He knows it.
Hey, man, or you can have him do the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance with Shedeur Sanders and make him Shadeur Milroe. That is an unstoppable.
Yes, if you can do that.
So
Shadeur Milroe.
So Cam's going number 1, right?
Yes.
We assume. I know Albert Breer and I know others have said he could fall to the first round. I'm going to assume for this, Shedeur is still a first round pick, right? Can we assume
Shedeur is not falling out of the first round.
Jackson Dart
first round.
Will he's in the first round.
I believe he is too.
And I think Milroe. I think
You know who
and we
that
haven't
leaves us with?
even gotten to Tyler Shuck.
Nope. But you know who that leaves us with? Who I'd be perfectly fine with? You guys know where I'm going here. Where am I going here?
Will Howard.
Thank you. Oh, wait. The guy that only went on the greatest playoff run we've ever seen. The guy that made every throw he needed to make. The guy that when the game was on the line, after earlier in the year making the absolute worst decision, put a ball in a breadbasket from 60 yards to an elite wide receiver. And
all right, he's going to the first round. We're at 6. 6 quarterbacks in the first round.
No, 5 in the first. Will Howard will be the 6th.
We didn't even mention Tyler Shuck.
We
would be 5.
Quinn Ewers. Would you take Will Howard over Quinn Ewers?
Would I take Will Howard over
Will
Quinn
Howard.
Ewers?
Absolutely.
I'd take Will Howard.
I'll take Will Howard.
In a heartbeat.
Look, I'm getting.
Heartbeat.
I served the softball up there.
Yeah.
Hey,
let me get my knuckles lined up.
I would take Will Howard over Shedeur. So
probably.
No, listen.
Where would you actually, if you were ranking your top 5 quarterbacks, Jay? You personally?
Yes.
I know.
We just mentioned them.
We
just
those
mentioned
5.
them.
So Howard would be 6 for you.
Yes, he would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He would.
I have a hard time believing there's going to be these 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Listen, did anybody think we'd have 6 in the first 12 last year?
Nobody
Nobody did. We were watching the draft, all of us, and we were going, what in the?
Well, we knew 5 were going early. The Bo Nix one was a
Bo
bit
Nix
of a surprise.
at 12?
That was definitely high.
I'm telling you right now, I don't think Tyler Shuck goes in the first round. I don't think he goes in the
I
first
think
round.
what's going to happen to Shuck is he's going to fall behind Will Howard, who will be 33. But I don't think he's going to slip much into the second round.
So some people got Ashton Genty going to the Raiders. It's hard.
6.
We have that on the Athletic today.
Did you really?
We do mock drafts. I'll pay attention.
Yeah.
That is a very popular mock draft connection. Raiders.
Yeah,
with Pete Carroll taking over, they have Geno Smith.
Makes sense.
It makes sense.
The Saints need a quarterback.
They're now the Vegas favorites for Shedeur, by the way.
Yes, they are at 9. I think.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why the over-under's 8.5 then.
The Giants need a quarterback. I see mock drafts where the Jets took a quarterback.
It goes to show you, G, that mock drafts mean nothing until
somebody.
You know what? Go ask a homeless guy. There's your mock draft. Ask Jimmy.
But we do agree.
It turned into a reality draft.
But we do agree the whole NFL world hinges on what the Browns do.
Yes.
The Browns, I think, set a whole list of dominoes off.
Said that for a while.
Do you mean by saying that, you mean like if they take a quarterback, there will be more to come?
Whoever they take changes people's thought process.
It will dictate what the Giants do.
Yeah.
They take, let's just say they take Shedeur, because we got to get one last thing in. But they say Shedeur at 2, just for the sake of this. Now the Giants have the Carter.
They
Hunter
never
decision.
blink. They take Carter and they don't even blink.
Then
They've got their elite wide receiver.
And the Patriots
Then the Patriots take Hunter and don't think twice.
You'd be crazy not take him if you're New
And then
England.
the whole draft goes from there, as opposed to if the Browns take either Carter or Hunter, then the Patriots most likely don't have their choice, assuming the Giants don't take a quarterback.
Right.
And then there's that whole domino effect of, are you drafting for need, best player
That's
available?
why I love the draft.
With
There's so much
blue chip
drama
guys
and intrigue.
in that scenario would be off the board.
We were talking earlier about I wouldn't be surprised if they traded down. I actually don't think that they will trade down because there's no elite quarterback for other teams to come up and get.
Right,
we can't even decide. You know what I mean?
Right.
If there was
the only
clear,
way they trade down is if one of the 3 through 6 or 7
Like,
are so infatuated with Carter that they don't want to risk
we
that he
talked.
comes off
The
board.
other day. We had a bunch of like mock trades, and I actually liked the one of going down to Carolina at 8 and getting a future 1, and Carolina going up to 2. But the more I thought about it, nobody's going to come up to get a receiver. Nobody's going to pay the price and come up that
but
far
this isn't
for a receiver.
A receiver.
I agree. I think Travis
isn't
Hunter.
elite.
I think Travis Hunter should be on the Browns.
He's like the Swiss Army knife.
But I don't know that even still, he's not a quarterback. I don't think
if
teams aren't going to pay.
Say
quarterback
Abdul
prices.
Carter has a foot injury and the medical says he's going to have a screw put in it and he has to have surgery. He's going to miss some time in the
medicals
summer.
have said the opposite. The medicals, from what I'm hearing, he's completely
fine.
clear.
The only way I see somebody getting up is if Abdul Carter slides to like 5 and they're like, oh no, we got to have. And I don't see how they get past
not.
4.
I don't
Mike
think he's getting past
Vrabel is
3.
not letting
I think the Browns
Carter
take him or the
get
Giants take him.
Yeah.
I agree with that. All right, guys, one last topic today brought to us by Living for We. What happens when a regular day at school turns into the worst day of your life? Unfortunately, that's a reality that's happening way too frequently in today's world. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for young people in America, and in communities of color, that impact is even greater. Every bullet fired creates 2 victims, the person in front of the gun and the one pulling the trigger. Living for We keeps Keep Your Head Up is an award-winning podcast focusing on real stories, real struggles, and real solutions in Northeast Ohio. A brand new episode comes out tomorrow from co-hosts Marlene Harris-Taylor and Maisha Watkins, the executive director of the Cleveland Peacemakers. In their episodes, they sit down with different organizations that are working to end gun violence and provide resources for those affected. Listen to Living for We wherever you get your podcasts or watch the video version on IdeaStream's YouTube channel. You can learn more at ideastream.com/podcast/livingforwe. Subscribe today to Living for We on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Mike, can I have 15 seconds quickly? I know we're talking.
Very quickly, yes.
Watch this. Last week, there was an 18-year-old teenager shot and killed by a 14-year-old. 2 families ruined forever. 1 life over. This is an epidemic. Juvenile crime in Northeast Ohio has not just gone up, it has skyrocketed. We've got to get to the root causes, and we've got to find fixes, and I think they ask all the right questions. So spend some time and watch this podcast. Make yourself smarter and more community aware.
It is Living for We. Keep your head up. Find it wherever you get your podcasts. G. Bush, Mason Graham is visiting the Browns on a top 30 visit today. You had texted in the group chat last night, if the Browns take Mason Graham with the number 2 pick and/or trade out of number 2 back to then take Mason Graham, you would quit hosting the Ultimate Browns.
Yeah, I told him I'm gonna just work under Anthony and do some graphics or something to make up my hours. I can't do it. I wouldn't be any good for anybody. I would just always reset to, I cannot believe they took a D tackle. Like, no, we cannot do this. And by the way, look, they're doing their due diligence. Yes. I mean, they're not going to – look, they got to invite these guys in. They got to do some work on these dudes. You know, that's what the scouting department does. They scout thousands of people, and they only draft 3 or 4 of them, and they got a Rolodex full of information on everybody. And there's a lot of it. But look, don't get it twisted. Mason Graham is a good football player. Let me just say that right now. Abdul Carter is a good football player. The way I consistently look at it, I'm not interested in drafting nobody on the defensive side of the football. I'm just not at this point.
That's really surprising to me because that's where you play.
I know, and I really
you're minimizing that.
Yeah, no, I'm not minimizing. You got to
score points.
I'm just overshadowing that you got to score points. Like Myles Garrett, listen, he's Defensive Player of the Year. Listen to Joe Thomas, man. Joe Thomas was one of the greatest to ever do it. Never sniffed a playoff. Never sniffed. Not close.
No, he played offense.
Offense, right? But he's a lineman, right? You know, to me.
But as a lineman, don't you know that that's the point of attack? That's the most important part of the game.
I'll give me one of them. I'll pick one of those dudes when I got my quarterback. If I got my quarterback, okay. when you need to get a score, and you got Myles Garrett getting sacks, he has to hand the ball back to somebody. Yeah. It all depends on who he handed it to.
I wish there was a way we could play a practical joke on G, where we interrupted his cable service at his house, and we had a fake setting. And we could report that Mason Graham was the number 2 overall pick.
Well, G's going to be on the live stream with us that night.
Bro.
So it would not work.
He would lose his marbles.
I mean, look, in a regular draft, if they had a quarterback,
yeah,
my top prospects, just so y'all know, I'd be like, go get me Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Mason Graham, okay, if we want to fall, let's trade back a little bit. We may get something.
What about 33?
Yeah, there it is, 33. I like Jack Sawyer. I like Sawyer a lot. But in this draft where you have no quarterback and you still have not gotten, I would even feel more comfortable getting these dudes if you had Kirk Cousins. Yeah. Like if you had already gotten Kirk Cousins.
Well, we may have him by draft day.
Right. If you've already gotten a veteran that we could count on, I'd be like, cool.
Gee, so I know that you laid down the law. You do Mason Graham at 2nd pick, you become a janitor. You're out.
Yes,
you're done.
I can't do that no more.
That's smart. I don't blame you. There is a world where he could fit into their plans at 33. And there is also a world where they get at number 2. And now all of a sudden, if you have Myles Garrett and you have Carter on the other side and you have Graham in the middle, you could potentially be talking.
You're going to have to win games 3-0.
Yep, that's, you know what? The Baltimore Ravens won a Super Bowl doing that.
Well,
I mean,
it's possible.
You have Kenny Pickett.
The top 3 picks on this draft should be on the offensive side of the ball.
Let me remind you this.
Thank you.
I'm going to make you feel better about
all
it.
offense.
You can get through the rest of your day by this. Last week, I asked Dustin Fox, did you get a sense of where you were going to go? He goes, I thought I was going to go to Cleveland. They brought me in. They interviewed me. They loved me. I had connections. I said, what about the Vikings? Didn't even talk to
But
me.
what round was Dustin drafted at?
Third.
But this happens.
Yeah.
This happens.
It typically doesn't happen
by
with
the way,
top 10
teams are
picks.
bringing in guys that they might take in the 4th round. If they have a guy that they really, really like, and they have a higher grade on him than everybody else, they want to check out the personality and say, hey, this might be a guy that we can maybe reach late 3rd or whatever and get.
Real quick, because I know we got to go. I've talked to teams that do coaching searches who will have interviews with guys, even though they have no interest in hiring them for that spot, but they're thinking down the line. Maybe as an assistant coach or maybe 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Like, it's the one opportunity you have to talk to a vast number of people.
Yes, expand your Rolodex.
And I
Get to know
almost
them.
wonder if that's almost, hey, this may not fit now. We may not be in position to get you now, but you're going to be a free agent at some point. We
Right.
want to have, let's. I mean, if you have these visits, you might as well take advantage.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Get a good steak dinner, man. Eat that steak, bro.
Yeah.
But we need Travis Hunter.
All right, we're going to get to Super Chats. If we don't finish Super Chats during the regular show, we're going to make overtime public so we can finish the rest of the Super Chats in overtime. We'll make it public, though, because we got a bunch of these, and there's some good ones.
Okay.
So we'll get into that. But overtime and Super Chat today is brought to us by Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. We're going to get as many of these in as we can now. The rest will make overtime public so everyone can tune in and watch. But Derek Spina, first off, says, you have to get ahead of the Steelers. They need a quarterback, and Tomlin already said he likes Milroe. Get Hunter, Milroe, even if you trade up to get him, then draft one of the OSU RBs. Browns, don't F this up.
I liked one of them. Hey, we need a running back, too. And call Nick Chubb.
How concerned are we as a group that Milroe's numbers essentially, yards almost exactly the same?
They got worse his senior season.
Fewer touchdowns, more interceptions, and
How much is that because Tommy Reese and Nick Saban weren't there?
Well, that's up to all of us to weigh.
Yeah.
I have major concern that there was a step back in the 2 biggest measurables outside of yards.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That is a big, big red flag for
That's
me.
why I plan on redshirting him.
Now, if you're the Browns, the good news is, well, he did those good numbers under our guy, so we're good.
Yep. Next Super Chat, Matt Chapman said, what's more detrimental to the franchise? Drafting Sanders at 2 and having him not be that good, or passing on him and him turning into a good quarterback for another team?
The former.
What's more detrimental is the fact that you drafted a guy who's not any good and
Yeah.
you passed on an opportunity to add someone who's good.
Yeah, so yes, the answer to that is yes. Both of them are detrimental. But here's the thing.
Both.
I live my life this way. If I turned down a job once upon a time and the person that took that job went on to become Bob Costas, okay, doesn't mean I would have.
Yeah.
So
Right.
what? I don't live your life that way, worried about what everybody else is doing. Okay, fine. We passed on a great quarterback in Josh Allen that is, just got a huge deal. Okay, fine. I'm not worried about the Buffalo Bills. Keep your eye on the prize. The eye on the prize is your 53. Screw the other teams and where they go and do they have success. They probably had a better infrastructure to succeed there. That person may well have flamed out here. Just get your current picks right. And if the guys you don't pick, guess what? Everybody passed on Tom Brady 6 times.
Yep.
Everybody but one team. So what?
All right, Brody's bottom line said, the Kings made some tough shots last night. You got to give them credit. Their players get paid also.
They did.
Derek Spina said, Browns, don't be dummies. You have to get ahead of Pittsburgh because Tomlin likes Milroe. Be aggressive. You got a ton of picks. And Philip Chambers says, shout out to G. Bush for holding these draft gurus accountable. AG, did Danny Dimes get that arm strength yet? LOL.
Hey, man, go check the episode out, man.
Here's the thing with the draft experts. I will build you a 30-minute show on every draft expert that ever walked the planet. By the way, expert means you know everything about the topic. No one is a draft expert. It's an oxymoron. I'll show you an hour of Mel Kiper standing in front of a camera saying this player's going to change the world, and half of that episode will be filled with him saying, this person is going to be a complete, total flameout. You cannot take him. Every draft expert has their trail of video clips from the past littered with misses. If they didn't, they'd be a general manager. And the one guy that went from TV to general manager flamed out once he got to do it for real.
And the general managers flame out on it all the time.
All the time.
We all miss because they said Andrew Luck would be the president by now. He don't even play. RG3 was supposed to be the next dude walking on water.
You can't anticipate injury.
All right, we don't know. Hey,
because if you can, there are people that are concerned about Hunter.
Yeah, there are people concerned. That's what I'm saying. There is no such thing. That was my thesis statement.
No
There's
expert.
no such thing as a guaranteed consensus pick because they can flame out too.
Joe Burrow right now is looking like a pretty, like a close, sure thing. Everybody said, yeah, this guy's going to do it.
Trevor Lawrence, you got another year, dog.
Trevor Lawrence, the ship has sailed for me on Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence he was the generation. See what I remixed?
I didn't like him.
He was
coming out. I didn't like him.
I didn't understand. I just listened. I said, all right, well, that's what they said.
We're going to get to the rest of your Super Chats in overtime. It will be public. It will be for everybody. Come back in literally 2 minutes. We'll be
Is this
fired
never
up to get
before
the rest of
seen
Super
Browns
Chats
content?
Yes, it is.